Three, two, one, ghost. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 3, 2, 1 Ghost. I'm your host with a silent G, Kyle, and joined by Natalie, my co host. I'm your co host. We're each other's co hosts. How are you?
As always, equals.
I always have that like half a second where I just have to kind of ruminate on, do I need to add some extra sort of flair? I'm doing it right now where I just, I'm like, just no, just some thought. I'm like, how do I want to introduce this? And I never have a
No,
plan before going in, but it always ends up being kind of the same thing.
there
But
never needs to be flair. You're hearing your voice and just, host with a silent G. That's all we need.
I hope that my voice conveys a spooky Mr. Rogers situation where it's like, it's comforting. Like, hello, come in, welcome to my home. Like, sit down, take your shoes off, but only if you feel comfortable. Like, hey, my casa's your casa. But I hope that as much as we're talking about spooky things, you get a kindness with a sweater vibe. Welcome to 3, 2, 1 Ghost. I'm your host with a silent G. We've done this whole thing. We're I feel especially good kind of coming into this year. I really appreciate starting with Scream. We weren't always going to originally. We were going to put the
Yeah.
Scream episodes at the end of the month, and then fucking stroke of genius, not from me, but from you. You're like, let's just fucking start this off with Scream.
Yeah,
And
kick off the
honestly,
year.
what a way to kind of like refresh, just kind of reset. I feel really good. What an easy way to go into a year than just talking for 3 hours straight about something that you love very much. It does feel, I still feel like we can build off that energy because I appreciate this movie we're talking about. I like that we're still, as we are, a bit stuck in the 90s, late 90s usually. Hey everybody, we're talking about Rodman Flender's Idle Hands, 1999. I'm going to be talking about Mr. Flender here in a little bit, but I think it's just good. I just like the vibe. I like sitting it. This is a very 90s movie.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to talk about that. I don't know if anybody would understand all the references that are brought up in this movie, but I don't know. But before we get into that, how are you easing into your new year? How are you feeling?
Oh, it's been, yeah, it's been
One
an
week since you
interesting,
looked at me. It's right in the 90s. I like that.
yeah, there you go. That's what I was going
Sorry.
for.
Every time I hear someone go, it's been, and then they pause, I like.
Do you do that to everyone? God, I hope not.
No, in my
I
brain
hope
I
not.
do. In my brain I do every single time. That song
Okay,
will
okay. As long as you're doing it
haunt me.
internally.
That song will haunt me to my grave. And that is, honestly, that's okay. I'm sorry. You go ahead. How's
I'm
your year been?
I'm doing so great. I love the beginning of a new year. I love to get a fresh planner. Boring but true. And I'm glad that we started with Scream. I think it was a fun way to kick off the year. Otherwise we would have started with this one because obviously this would have been the first episode of the year. And I'm also like excited to do this for like a full calendar year so that we have like that, the completionist in me wants to have that because we started like in late August, which was a weird time. We fully intended everyone to start at the beginning of 2023, but we got there. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about what year was this? 1999
Yep.
in 2024. 25 years.
I would hope that when Prince in the song 1999, when everyone's partying like it's 1999, he was thinking about a Halloween high school soiree with the Offspring playing.
Absolutely was.
That is how you party like it's 1999. So it's, or at least that's how I partied when it was 1999, when I was a 12-year-old listening to Offspring and Blink 182 and the sorts. But it's also secret cameo in this movie. Did you know Tom DeLonge shows up in this movie?
When?
He's in the he's working at the fast food place.
He's one of the employees there?
Yeah, he's like the drive-through guy.
Oh yeah, it says window server. Oh, is he the one that he tells him that it's break time?
I think so. Yeah, San Diego native Tom DeLonge, by the way. Well, Poway, but if you're from San Diego, it's like,
Eh.
We'll allow Poway for this. If it's someone famous, yes, Poway is just as much San Diego. Welcome. You're
Or if you
but
live
other
in Poway and you're kind enough to listen to our podcast, then we will accept you.
yeah. I like Januaries, especially as a horror fan. I like Januaries because often that's where they'll like dump like a lot of like cheap horror movies. Like usually January is when a lot of the they leave a lot of movies, they release a lot of movies to just quietly just come and go, the doldrums or whatever.
I wonder why. Or like I don't know what the thought process behind that is.
Well, so you're coming off the holidays and everyone's back in school. Usually, I mean, you would not know this living in San Diego, but the weather gets especially just gloomy and shitty and awful, feels like.
I
And
haven't lived here my whole life. Jesus.
thought maybe you forgot. I don't know. But last few Januaries, for take it for what you will, but like Megan was January last year, and then Scream 5 was the January before that,
Well,
and
I
then
think
off.
those are two very different examples because I think Megan, I mean, I threw that one in one of my I think my least favorites honorable mentions because it was so underwhelming. But Scream, I mean, you have a built-in audience for that, so you could release it in January.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I think with Scream 5, and we'll save most of this for the Scream 5 episode for what's that? May is I guess when that would be. But
Yeah.
I mean, you're coming off 11 years. Scream 4 bombed, kind of. So it's
We'll get to that. That's a hot topic around here.
yeah, no, a lot of hate for Scream 4. I
A
don't
lot of hate
understand
for
that.
Scream 4.
Especially because there's been a lot of people coming around saying, "Oh, I hated on Scream 4 and I realized." The error of my ways.
Mhm.
So maybe it's just a few extra stragglers, right? And haven't jumped on board. But
I hope that when we talk through it, we can collect even just a handful more of Scream 4 fans.
you see how we're still just kind of buzzing off Scream. Feels
Yeah.
good. Just like,
It's
again,
all
great
we
to
can talk about. We're going to bring it up in every episode, even if it's not a Scream episode.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about late 90s slashers, teen horror situation, like whether it's I Know What You Did Last Summer or Urban Legend
Mhm.
or The Faculty or this movie, it's kind of hard to talk about it without Scream coming up at some point. So I'm going to give
Yeah.
ourselves that grace as we move forward. Um, God, did you see this movie when it came out in the theaters?
It's likely that I did. I know I saw it a lot. I don't remember if I saw it in theaters, but if I did, my mom definitely took me to see it because this is another horror comedy that we're talking about that's rated
Mm-hmm.
R rather than PG-13. Because when you're watching the trailers for it, it feels like it should be rated PG-13. Like this is definitely for a teen audience. And I forgot that it was rated R until I went to watch it. So I don't remember seeing it in theaters, but I think that I did. I remember being very excited for it.
I was able to see a number of R-rated movies in theaters at the time. Thanks, Mom. Shout out, getting me in there.
Mhm.
my poor mom having to be just the grown adult woman having to walk up to the counter and be like, one for Urban Legend, please. I guess.
Weren't they supposed to go with you though? Am I wrong? Like they had to like see the movie with you, or did they just have to buy the ticket and then just pass it off to you?
I mean, okay, technically, because I also worked at a movie theater, and who
Yeah.
knows how the rules have changed, but usually it's both. It just kind of depends. I mean, well, I don't know. Like I was certainly definitely a child at the
Yeah,
age,
we were
when
young.
this movie came out. But I mean, I also remember, don't judge me, but Terminator 3 came out. So this would have been, I don't know, yeah, still early aughts, something around there.
Hmm.
And your husband and I went to go see it. And I remember his mother having to walk up and buy the tickets for us. And then she just handed
Really?
them to us, and then we walked in. And then, so I don't know, when did, oh shit, I don't know when Rise of the Machines came out, but I want to say, but yeah, early odds, that makes sense, like
I mean,
2000
if
to
you have
2003, somewhere in there.
at that point, if you have the tickets and you're like a full-blown teenager, like if I were the person collecting the tickets, I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, and the only other times I think I was like kicked out of an R-rated movie, I didn't pay to get into the theater to begin with. So
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
was sneaking through the back door or whatever, and then some fucking narc just is like, no, how dare I pay $8.75 to see, fucking in Final Destination 2 when
You're just
this
waltzing in
dumbass
here.
this dumbass child just gets to waltz in with his with his fucking with his half-eaten Wetzel's pretzels from the food stand outside and the whatever the fuck. But yeah, I don't remember saying this one specifically, but gosh, I do remember the trailer quite a bit. I remember
Yes.
just the hijinks of this crew. I certainly watched it. It was a video rental after the fact, though.
Oh,
I
yeah.
certainly remember watching it at home.
I think I
Um,
rented it multiple times and I feel like it was on TV a lot, but edited quite a bit for TV.
some version of it. Yeah, that makes
Yeah, like
sense.
all the weed smoking was pretty much like cut out, but they were like the violence is fine.
And the weed smoking seemed to be like, it's weird because it feels like it needs to be a central component of this movie, given that, like, yeah, he's supposed to be just some lazy stoner and just so fucking
Mm-hmm.
lazy and unmotivated, right? That he becomes a tool for Satan. But
Yeah.
it's I just I forget where I read somewhere that, like, at the end, hey, I'm gonna skip just right to the end here.
Go ahead.
Where it's like weed saves the day out of
Love that.
this like weird like mechanical like but also like kind of like proton pack looking bong situation,
Yeah.
you know and allegedly, like, a lot of that was not part of it. I know that wasn't the original ending, and there was supposed to be a little bit, more of an effects heavy portal to hell situation. And I remember, like, I guess like Seth Green saying like, oh, it wasn't our intention to have it be such a stoner comedy. It was supposed to be a little more highbrow than that. And like, but
Mm-mm.
then, and I was like,
No, it was not.
I don't know how you could have saved it and what version you thought this movie could have existed as. That I don't know, that would have been such a far cry from what ended up being on screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
um how much do you enjoy, like, just stoner culture and stoner comedies in general? Because there were a lot in the 90s, probably headlined by, you've got your Half Bakes, and you've got your
Mm-hmm.
all your I mean, all, I mean, geez, the first, I would say, the chunk of the most tolerable Kevin Smith films
Yeah.
in the 90s up until
It's
that point. But yeah,
uh, it's really hit and miss for me, but the right person can make it funny. Like I'm trying to think. The only person that talks about weed all the time that I think is hilarious is Snoop Dogg. That's a perfect example of like when it's funny because it's like literally just the lifestyle, but I think it's because like he's so cool too. But that's a conversation for another day. I think if it's this situation where it's like a horror comedy, this is very slapsticky. It's a lot of like physical comedy, just very over the top. I think it works. But if it's like a movie, like if this movie was based around, like I think about like Half Baked, like I'm not a huge Half Baked fan. Like I don't, it's fine.
me neither.
Um, yeah. And like the Kevin Smith movies, I think they're fine. Some of them I love, and then others I am, you know, whatever. But I think that the way that they incorporate this, like I think it's just enough that it's funny. Like I'm curious to know how this whole movie aged for you because I had like super duper nostalgia, and when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is worse than I remember, but it was still really fun.
Our boo scores are both in a little bit of flux, and we're just going to see where this conversation takes
Mm-hmm.
us, because yeah, I think that there are things that I like about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh my God, this is rough. This is hard to watch. But I do think that ultimately it's in the casings of a, or in the trappings of, rather, I don't know, but it's a fun movie. It's a fun premise. It's a cool
Mm-hmm.
situation. And I like the vibe and the tone of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love a non-Halloween, capital H, or I guess they're both capital.
Yeah.
I like a movie that takes place during Halloween that's not like a Michael Myers Halloween movie. Um,
Yeah.
so even I like just the vibe and the aesthetic, all the oranges and greens and purples,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of make up the palette of this movie. I think
You get away with more too. Like
yeah, you
he
do.
can have fucking dead friends walking around at the dance because it's Halloween. So, whatever. Like whenever a movie takes place in Halloween, then you can just walk around with a mask and be creepy in the corner and everybody's like, it's Halloween. Who cares?
Yeah.
I actually was really surprised. This is something that the internet does not work in my favor for. I usually love my algorithm of like, if they're like, you're definitely an elder millennial. You love horror. You like stupid things that are very 90s. So I thought that this movie was very like beloved and everybody was just praising it and loving it. That's not the case. It bombed at the box office and it has a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's fucking low. Like Friday the 13th, we'll say Jason Takes Manhattan low.
Dang. Yeah, if you'd ask me, it's just like right now, like what would you rather watch? Takes Manhattan or Idle Hands? Okay, right now I'd say Idle Hands just because we're talking about it and I'm like in the vibe right now. And Jason Takes Manhattan is like such a laborious effort sometimes to get through.
Oh, I would take this over Jason Takes Manhattan any day. If even before having watched it recently.
Yeah, I think so too. The first half of Manhattan's okay. I mean, everything on the boat, I guess, because that's where most all your kills come from.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe I'm in the minority there, where I'm just like, the movie just fucking, I just don't give a fuck once they get to Manhattan or the docks in Toronto or wherever that's filled. He's like out on New York for like half a second, then he's just in the sewers for the rest of the movie, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's one way to take Manhattan, I
Yeah,
suppose.
that's like it's like Jason had a connecting flight in Manhattan. That's how he took Manhattan. He didn't actually sightsee or anything.
So this movie is directed by Rodman Flender. Do you know who this person is, and do you know of his other credits?
No, when you said that, I was like, should I? Am I uneducated here?
I didn't think I needed to either until I was doing some just reading up a little bit about this movie. But Rodman Flender directed this movie. I don't know if he directed a whole lot of movies, maybe after this, but the big horror thing that he did before this was Leprechaun 2. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the one I remember the least because it doesn't have, because the first one, I remember the first one because it's got the dude from Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Jennifer Aniston. And
I
then
love that you said those two in that order because everyone would say Jennifer Aniston first.
I just have seen so little Friends. So unless it's Courtney Cox, uh, who'd always be brought up first. I don't know. But the third one that's in Vegas, fourth one that's in space, and then you have the in the Hood movies. So I just always remember the second
A
one the
lot of the
least.
Leprechaun movies.
What about him?
Interesting. No, like he did a lot. He did a lot of those.
Oh no, he only did the second one.
Oh, he
I'm
only
just
did
trying
the
to.
second one. I thought you were
Yeah,
listing
no,
off all the ones that he did. I was like, wow, that's a lot.
I'm just trying to say I just barely remember the second one because I remember all the other ones like generally pretty well in their basic premise, but I don't remember the second one much. So I'm gonna have to swing through and watch that one more time and
Okay,
see.
I'm kind of cheating because I pulled up his IMDb and I'm noticing a couple things here.
There's a fun one in there from a show that we also that we've
I saw,
referenced quite a bit.
are you talking about Dawson's Creek?
Yeah, he did an episode of Dawson's Creek, specifically the Scream parody episode, which every teen
Shut the
show,
front door.
and by every teen show, I mean I'm only going to cite one outside of Dawson's Creek, but like has some sort of Scream episode. I think about
Mm-hmm.
that one, and I think about that episode of Boy Meets World, which is probably one of my top 5 Boy
Oh,
Meets
I
World
love
episodes
those.
with
Yeah.
Jennifer Love
I
Hewitt.
love both of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So also, he is the uncle of Timothee Chalamet. Did you know that?
No.
So does that make Timothee Chalamet officially nepo baby?
Yes,
Nepo baby status? Do you think on the set
100%.
of Wonka or like on the set of Dune, he's like, some poor assistant brings him like a lukewarm coffee and he hits it out of her hands and she's like, bitch, do you know who the fuck I am? Do you know who the fuck my family is? I own these goddamn streets, bro. My fucking Uncle Roddy.
A karate.
I got 2 words for you, bitch. Idle hands. Idle fucking hands.
Heard
Leprechaun
of
2.
it?
Fucking watch it. Heard of it? So I wonder if
He also has a credit for the Scream TV series.
does he really? Well,
Mm-hmm.
see, there you go. See, we'll bring up Scream constantly. Don't worry.
He must have directed a couple of episodes, 2 episodes. Okay.
You also have pretty great who's who in your cast of 90s heavyweights. Of course, you got our anchor, right? Industry legend Devon Sawa.
Here he is
Man,
again. We love Devon Sawa.
back to back, 99, 2000. Actually, fucking 99 to like the end of 2000. What it's just I'll just always think of him, just his soft dumb eyes bringing us into the new millennium, the millennium, with Idle Hands in 99, 2000 in Final Destination, and then man, really wrapping that up. I completely fucking forgot he's fucking Stan in that fucking Eminem video.
You're welcome for the reminder. You're welcome.
Thank you. I was like, you're just like, oh, he's Stan. I'm like, what?
Okay,
like,
can I share the trivia that I
yeah,
found
please.
about that? Okay, this is so fun. For those of you who don't know, I am an avid rap music listener, and on the IMDb trivia, so who knows how true this is, but it's super fun. So Devon Sawa plays Stan in the music video Stan of Eminem. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch that. That's aged probably terribly. But apparently the Dr. Dre, watched Final Destination and loved it and was like, that's our guy. He's gonna play Stan. I want to be a fly on the wall of Dr. Dre watching Final Destination.
Oh my gosh, just the look on his face when that woman gets hit by the bus. Yes. No,
Yes.
I don't imagine him having like, see, I can imagine everyone else on the couch around him like jumping up and be like, oh shit,
Yeah.
but fucking Drake, I mean, Dre's gonna be cool the whole way through. Like
He's
just
like,
gonna
she didn't
nod.
look both ways. Bitch should have looked both ways.
He's just gonna nod and just in like, yep, it's the way fucking death works. Goes in the details. He probably looked at oh man, I love Tony Todd, right? But I bet Dre was like, I could play that character. I could roll with him. I'd love if I could take anyone except for Tony Todd. Yeah, maybe put Dr. Dre in that role.
Maybe he wrote them a letter and was like, "Can I play William Bloodworth in the sequel?"
Yeah.
No shade
yeah.
to Tony Todd.
We'll have to comb through Dre lyrics and see if there's any. Maybe he sneaks in a reference to Final Destination and there's somewhere.
I've never noticed one. I mean, I can't say that I have. Maybe if anyone out there knows, please let us know. That would be great.
Yeah. It's maybe like whenever he's talking about death, he means like specifically death, like in, if it comes up
in Final Destination.
He's talking about the Final Destination version of a,
the entity that is death.
Yeah. So, we always welcome Devon Sawa. He is, I mean, yeah, I think he's great in this movie. I'll probably argue he probably has the best performance in this movie. I don't know. What do you think?
100%. Like,
he gets the most to do, of course.
The character of Anton, I'll start off by saying, I guess you really have to put yourself in a place of disbelief for this movie because the movie cannot move on if he just sat down and was like, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. just gonna wait for this hand thing to play out. So like there's a lot going on here, but his physical acting is really good. Like he has to react to his own hand and pretend that it's alive, and it's like really over the top and really like campy and silly. And I think he's so great. Jessica Alba is beautiful as can be and super hot in this movie, but wow, her acting, it's not acting.
Some of those responses sound like she is. I think she's really fun in this movie. And I think, yeah, I
He
like
just
Jessica
ignores
Alba.
everything that's happening.
In some of her reactions are just so like mousy and like tee hee hee hee. It's like
Just
out
like
of
everything, like he could literally like try to choke her, and she's like, "Oh my
he
god."
did
He does.
literally
She's
try
like,
to
"You're
choke her.
kinky."
I know. It's so bad. But yeah, oh geez. And yet Devon Sawa makes it work, I think, more or less throughout this movie. He's fine.
He does.
He's good.
He's really fun. He's always so great. Like I feel like, I mean, we've been watching him since he was a kid. I mean, we were kids when he was a kid pretty much. He was only a little older than us, but
That
I
fucking thirst trap that is
just
Wild
love him.
America
Yeah.
with John
I just
with
yeah.
JTT and
Oh, JTT.
Scott Bar no. I keep wanting to say Scott Barlow, but no, he's a pitcher. It's Barstow. Sorry. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. With Devon Sawa, I feel like he gets a lot to do. The energy I get from him is it's like a little bit, I feel like he's channeling his Canadian brethren and Jim Carrey a little bit with that elasticity. And then also,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a little bit Jim Carrey by way of Weekend at Bernie's kind of situation, as he's just like,
Mm-hmm.
he just acts like he's like a marionette being like just kind of like
Like his
walked
one
around.
hand is dragging his entire body. That one hand.
And I do love the slapstick of it. I think ultimately it works.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to, give him some credit for that. Yeah, it's Jessica Alba, you know. So the vibe I get from Jessica Alba is uh what's her face? Tia Carrere's character in Wayne's World.
Mm.
Um
Oh my
what is
God.
her
You
name?
like
Oh
you
my,
gave like the hottest example. Um,
she is super hot, but the idea of, well, both are, but like, no, just this, of course, very like, bass play. You never see her play bass in this movie, but they say that she's a bass player,
wait, are you
which
talking
is
about Wayne's
interesting.
World or are you talking about
Both,
okay.
both, because they're both this
Cassandra
like
Cassandra is the
Cassandra, I think,
name of Tia Carrere as character in Wayne's World.
both them being these kind of like rocker chick kind of vibes, even though I don't get it as much from, it's not really as intertwined into Jessica Alba's character the same way it is for like Tia Carrere's,
They
as
kind
far
of
as
like
like,
they kind of start off strong with it of him finding her book of lyrics and poetry, and then just it kind of just disappears because it's more of just an avenue to get them talking.
right.
So
Yeah,
it's
she just
it's
needed
like
something to drop, even though like,
yeah.
so, and then also too, I don't know what it is about like the 90s, but there is this, I'm sorry, this like fetishization of female bass players in the 90s. I mean, I think obviously the
My
biggest
husband is
example,
still there, folks.
the like, I mean, the biggest example would be like the rotating women in Smashing Pumpkins and Swan. I think Paz Enchanton isn't Swan, but like Billy Corgan would always have female bass players. And
Hmm.
then it's, I don't know why. I just feel like I would see it a lot, where it would come up and they'd be like, "Oh, here, play bass on the side." And then that's how
It
we're,
would have been fun if she hopped on stage with the Offspring
yeah, I'd be
and
like, I want
started
to see her like in
playing
the
or
band,
something.
like, because you do
Yeah.
see that book and it's like very like, It's great. I think that lyric book is great.
Yeah.
I didn't screenshot a lot to see like what the fuck with the pages that were in there, but they're all pretty good. I like that she doesn't. I don't know. I hope that she doesn't actually ever handwrite her lyrics. They only exist in her head, and the only way she commits them to paper is to find the words in magazines and newspapers
Yes.
and then glue them and
Which is
you know
very 90s. Very 90s.
very 90s and very uh fucking what's his face who killed all those people in San Francisco in the 70s.
The Unabomber? Jeffrey Dahmer? The Zodiac Killer?
That's it, the Zodiac Killer. Yeah.
Like, how many serial killers do I have to name?
That's the one. Yeah, you just have to get to the Z's. Yeah, so it's very like punk a little bit, or like that, I don't know. And then it's also very Zodiac Killer as well. So but I like that. Jessica was, yeah, her reactions to some things. I know some stuff it's not her fault, but oh my god. I also am very charmed by Vivica A. Fox in this movie.
I know, I wish there was more of her in this movie. I remember there being more of her, and like considering she's probably the only person of color in this movie, could have given her a couple extra minutes of screen time. This movie's very white, like super white.
So I guess, I guess she's, a druid priestess that is a demon hunter as well. But I do like that they, I mean, both her and Jessica Alba, they do give them these kind of outlines of like a cool character, that have a lot of agency that would be, driving the plot. But Jessica Alba, or sorry, no, Vivica A. Fox. Yeah, man, between that and this is what Independence Day was like a couple years prior.
Jessica Alba's in this movie too. She's Mexican.
And then Vivica A. Fox and Will Cheese, and then it was only a couple years after that was Kill Bill. So dude, she's cool. She's good.
I love
she's
Vivica A. Fox.
I know she's great. I love the relationship between her and that dude. What's his name? Is Randy?
Randy.
I love how, well, yeah. So I'll just talk about it now. We'll bounce around, but like, I love, man, you would think Randy would get killed pretty early on in a movie like this, but he ends up being like part of the team.
He ends up making it and getting the girl.
Which is pretty cool, especially because like his whole kind of, ulterior motive was, I'm gonna go fuck up Devon Sawa for stealing my truck.
Yeah.
Or whatever. He is, I don't know, he's really fun.
This whole movie, every time they show him and that fucking Motley Crue Shout at the Devil song is playing, I'm like, how much did y'all pay for the rights of this song that you were like, we need to play it at least 10 times to get our money's worth? Like, they were like, we gotta keep that song on rotation throughout the whole film. It's a lot.
It's pretty good.
They couldn't think of any other bands that have Satan referencing songs to play.
Motley Crue's the only one. Yeah. They're like, we're just gonna play this one all the time. Yeah.
Which, by the way, $25 million budget, $4 million box office.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I know it's definitely got a strong cult following sense.
Yeah.
But I'm even now, like, I don't know, even when this popped into our heads of like, oh, let's do this movie, and this movie's been on our docket for a while now, but we kept kind of reorganizing, moving some stuff, and then it got pushed out into the new year, and then here we are. And yeah, revisiting this movie is really interesting, but like just kind of rounding out this cast here, you have, since we brought up Randy, he's great, and you've got Anson's two friends played by Seth Green and Eldon Henson. Eldon Henson, best known to me at least from being in the Mighty Ducks movies. So we've got two Mighty Ducks alumni between JJ and this dude. I'm trying to think if, maybe until Kenan Thompson shows up, in one of our movies, then then we'll be able to add a third. Or I mean, I guess I don't know how many Emilio Estevez horror movies there are outside of
Are
I
there
feel like I
any?
brought this up already. Maximum Overdrive, the one that Stephen King
Oh,
like directed himself. It had an
I
all
didn't even think
AC/DC
about that.
soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
that's pretty
I haven't
good. The
watched that in
movie
a
is
long
not,
time. I
it's,
know.
but I think I remember. Yeah, I don't know. So, well, maybe we'll circle around
Maybe
about
we'll
that.
visit. We'll
Uh,
revisit that.
and then you've got Seth Green, who like Seth Green, he's fine, right?
Go
I
ahead.
think
Yeah, go ahead. Shit on Seth Green. I knew you were going to.
I think what it all ties to is, as you know, he is one of the kids in It. That was I
Hmm.
think, one of his earlier roles. I don't
And
know how
he's
old he
great in
was.
that.
He's not. He
You are
was
such an asshole. This
he was the
is
kid I hated the most out of that group. I hated him, and I liked him much better
he
because, like,
plays he's Richie, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It,
and like Harry Anderson plays him when he's older. Um,
hmm
yeah, I hated Richie and his whole bullshit. He was, oh, of all the ones I just want to punch. And man, and I feel like, and that's where it's just like that deep set. It's just that's where it started with me. Unfortunately, that first impression just grew. And you know what? I I watched the first few seasons of Buffy when they were on, and I liked him in that arc. I was just like, was he a
hmm.
bass player or a guitar player? Do you remember?
He's a guitar player.
Yeah, so that's probably why he was cool. Um, and that whole thing with him and Allison Hannigan, I like that arc, but he wasn't in the show very much after that, right? Like how long was he a regular in that show?
For a long time. So,
Was he
okay,
really?
everyone, this is a conversation that we've had before where Kyle just for some reason has this like what he like makes it seem like he's just like, Seth Green's meh. But really, I feel like there's like this deep seated hatred, and I just don't know where it's coming from because Kyle's too kind and he won't say, like, oh, I hate this guy. Um, I love Seth Green. I absolutely adore him. I can think of a million things that I love him in. And Oz is the character that he plays on Buffy, and he's so great. Like, I love a white boy that plays guitar and is in a band. So that's not a secret.
That
But
all ages, that all ages like juice club or wherever that they all fucking went to,
the
that like,
bronze
yeah, that children and
and
vampires
adults
like went
go.
to.
Yes,
Oh
it's
my god,
children,
that's so
adults,
dumb.
and vampires. It makes sense.
So
It's a
dumb.
fictional world. It couldn't be any more dumb than Idle Hands.
And
But
let's be
he's in a
fair,
lot of seasons of Buffy. He's in like I'd say if you combine all the episodes, like 3 solid seasons.
right? And doesn't he? He's like, my werewolf thing's just too much. I got to get out of here, guys.
No, that I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it does not end well with him and Willow. It does not end well, y'all. It's intense. I mean, obviously we know she ends up, you know, coming out, but Willow was like one of the first like sexually fluid characters on television. So good for her.
Good for her.
Well, we went off the rails, but
Honestly, I'm pretty meh on Seth Green the whole,
oh,
throughout the entirety of his career. He's fine. I never really got into Robot Chicken when everybody else was watching it.
that I actually never watched.
And but I do know that I hated him in it. And I also, I'm sorry, I'll throw this out. I fucking hate Family Guy. Fucking hate it. So his dumbass fucking voice, I just like, it's as the kid, the
As
son
Chris.
Chris, is just nails on a chalkboard to me. That whole
He's
thing.
in Black Friday as well.
We were talking about Black Friday before we logged on, everybody.
Oh yeah, Devin
But
Sawa's in that too. Sorry,
Devin
everyone.
Sawa was in it. That's what we were talking about.
Throwing
Sorry.
you into this conversation.
So, he's fine. I don't know, dude. The dude has made a very diversified, interesting career for himself. So, doing a bunch of different things, writing, directing, producing, and acting, and all those things. So, that's why I can't say out loud I hate him, because it's like, no, I don't. But boy, do I hold on to those things, and those things really kind of have they have a shadow over everything else he does, just like this. And I honestly think he's the worst out of the main cast in this movie.
Wow.
You gonna say he's better than Randy? Come on, hardly.
I don't know how I feel about that. Just to take this off the rails even further, did you ever watch? He's in a movie called Without a Paddle with
Yeah.
our boy Matthew Lillard.
And who's the other dude that's married to Kristen Bell?
Dax Shepard.
Right.
Have you
My
seen that
dad
movie?
loves Without a Paddle.
Does he really?
He does. He will always. My dad does not watch movies, and that's not his thing. But I remember there was just this like, I don't know, this period where like he would bring it up a number of times. Where he's like, "Oh yeah, I saw this movie. It's pretty funny. It's got it's one bunch of guys and you know, they're going through the movie and they don't have a paddle." I don't know what he
I
says,
like your
but
impression of your dad. It's pretty good.
it's pretty good. I don't have to go too much into a different register to do my dad impression, but yeah, I just remember you just bring that up, that movie. So like I haven't seen it the whole way through, but I do. I don't know. That's my Without a Paddle story. Why do you like it?
I actually haven't seen it in so long I don't really remember it, but like I said, I will watch anything with Matthew Lillard, so that is why I watched it in the first place.
Did you watch that Dungeons and Dragons movie with him and Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Dungeons and Dragons movie with him and Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Could be absolutely wrong, and I'll edit out a lot of
I think
this,
it's
so don't
I
worry.
think it's possible.
I don't know why I was thinking Matthew Lillard's in that movie, but
Wait, so Seth
Mar-
Green is in that movie, but not Matthew Lillard?
I thought Matthew Lillard was in this Dungeons and Dragons movie, but no, it's just Marlon Wayans. Maybe I was thinking of Marlon Wayans.
Easy mix up.
Easy mix up. Both have a kind of a can have a similar energy. Well,
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
know. So, see, now I feel like I'm coming from I'm like, playing defense because I'm like I don't hate Seth Green, but I will speak to it like yeah, like I mean in this movie like especially like in the beginning, like those like first couple scenes, like before like they die and come back, I'm like his line readings are so awkward and weird. I feel like he's like I was thinking like, oh, is he like trying to play stoned? Because like every one of his like line deliveries, he looks just so awkward. He's like never looking in the same direction. He never like looks at him like anyone directly when he's
Oh
talking
my
to them.
gosh.
He's being so just like, and I just don't
This
know. It
is
was just driving me fucking crazy. And I couldn't handle it, especially because the other dude, Eldon Henson, like was doing fine. He's like of just that like, dumb stoner friend kind of situation. And then
okay.
also Seth Green calling him out, being like, what's your ambition? Like, what's your plan? When he says it to
Okay.
Devon Sawa.
Okay.
And I'm like, bro, what the fuck is yours, dude?
No,
Like,
here's my thing. Here, and this is something that I actually did have in my notes. So we're just gonna get into this shit now since you're just digging at Seth Green. His character does not make a lot of real sense because you've got this friend who is also a stoner with no direction or plan, like you were just pointing out, who's like asking Anton, you know, what's your plan? You can't just sit on your couch and smoke weed for the rest of your life. And it's like, my guy, that is exactly what you are doing. Then he also is like this voice of responsibility and reason. Like he's like lecturing both of them throughout a lot of the movie, but then he's still making stupid and irresponsible decisions at the same time. Like they couldn't choose a character for that character, if that makes sense. Like he feels like multiple characters in one because you have like the Eldon's character,
a nub.
he yeah, he makes more sense because he's just kind of goofy, having a good time, like joking around. Like he just wants to make out with a girl at the fucking dance. Like his motives are very clear. Like he's a simple character, but he makes sense. Whereas like Seth Green's character just doesn't make sense. So if I had those lines, maybe I wouldn't do the best job either, Kyle. How's
Yeah.
that?
While I was like half being kind of checked out during your Seth Green defense, I
Oh
looked up
God.
the movie's called, sorry, it's some different sci-fi movie called Wing Commander, starring Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard. Sorry.
Wing
I don't know how I
Commander.
got that mixed up with the Dungeons and Dragons, but that did come out the year after. But so whoops. Yeah, and and maybe that's it. Hey, that with that extra context, I get it. I just think they could have been, I don't know, just a little more energetic, a little bit funnier. I don't know. I was like getting kind of the vibes of like, no, it's not apples to apples situation, but like as far as just undead pals, I would take the friends in the Frighteners than I, over these two dudes. As far as like just like an
Like his
entertaining
ghost
duo of
pals?
friends. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like this is the thing. Like these are aimless teenagers. Like I think there's this common like misconception of like they need to know what they're doing with their lives. I'm like, no, their whole lives is just like sitting on the couch and smoking weed. Like even like in the beginning when he's like yelling out that to his mom that they're out of milk. Like I'm like, you kind of forget when you're a full-blown adult and you've been doing it for a while how dependent you are on your parents. Like you've never had to go to the store and get milk when you're out of milk. That's literally what that like communicates to you. And I love that they're like giving this impression that Anton should have this like big fucking plan. I'm like, absolutely not. He's probably like 17, 18 tops.
If that's how easy it is for the devil to possess your hand, I know people lazier than him in high school. I
Yeah.
think I could have
Or out of
been.
high school, even.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like, I feel like and then also like what counts as, they never really get into it much, but like what counts as like being productive? It turns out actually just like knitting.
exactly.
That's okay. So, which seemed like a plan that was working
Knitting.
very well for
I
him.
know. The devil was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
I don't need to murder people. Crochet's kind of is a little bit fun.
Yeah, maybe if you just made me a goddamn mitten, bro, like, I wouldn't
Yeah,
be
maybe if I
acting
wasn't
out so
cold.
much. Yeah. Speaking of, kind of rounding out our cast, we've got Christopher Hart, who plays the hand. Now, Christopher Hart, are you familiar with him at all?
If he's playing a hand, the only other
Like,
hand.
can you imagine his other claim to fame?
Yeah, I was going to say the only other hand I could think of is Thing.
Yes, which he played in 3 movies.
Okay.
Adam's Family Values, and Adam's Family Reunion, which, gosh, I've never seen. But
I have, but I don't remember it.
if anyone can replace Raul Julia, it would be Tim Curry,
Hmm.
because Tim Curry plays Gomez and Daryl
Mm-hmm.
Hannah plays Morticia. But I'll be honest, man, just
I don't like the
the
thought of Daryl Hannah as Morticia. I don't know why. It's like nothing against her. I just don't I don't like it.
and I know Catherine Zeta-Jones plays her, which I'm sure she's fine. I think she's probably good too. But man, Angelica Houston's performance, I know this is such a basic word, but it's pretty iconic at this point. She's
It's
pretty incredible.
it's the most incredible thing I've ever watched and like very uh just like she's just a vision of perfection.
And the chemistry between her and Raul Julia, like, man, really like, well, that's hot. It's so sexy, those two, all the
Yeah.
time. I know this is
Yeah.
the Adams Family Values, Adams Family podcast. Um,
We'll talk about the
but
Addams family at some point. We'll
Christopher
get
Hart,
there.
yeah, he's a magician. This was his last film credit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, do you remember any movies after this with a singular hand running around?
No, that was just of the 90s. That was it.
Yeah, that just dried up. That the desire, the lust to see that on the silver screen dried up very quickly into the millennium. But so good for him, I suppose. And he's a magician
Yeah.
too, is like a sleight of hand. But I don't know why necessarily you need to be like, I don't know. I'm not a magician, so I don't know like what transferable skills there are between hand actor and magician. I mean, he's a sleight of hand artist, and so I get that you need to have like really, there's, you have to be really good with your hands, right? But I just didn't think it was like the same thing as like acting. I'm sorry, I'm doing the whole thing with my hand right now.
Yeah, he's trying to, for those of you listening, trying to do some sort of impression of Thing running across. It's not good. It's not good.
So, dare I say, maybe we'll throw it up whether we want it. Let's let the audience maybe give us some feedback on whether we want to throw the industry legend tag on him. because
Oh, I think he should get one. Do I not get a vote?
two very iconic performances. It's either I've already decided or we'll leave it up to the crowd. No, I agree. I mean, I think
You know, I
he's also in the video for Stan. Can you believe it?
shut up.
No.
You
You remember the
asshole.
hand? You know the little hand that's running around in the background? It's writing like the letters to
Oh
Eminem.
my goodness. I was thinking
No.
maybe like just the close-ups of the handwriting would have been him. They're just like, oh,
He's
his
the
handwork
he's the
is
hand.
just so good.
Yeah.
That's the second time that we've brought up magicians, by the way, on this podcast. Just
I love
keep
him.
bringing them up. Maybe the third time, actually. It's the third time.
So
You can't get enough.
this let's hop into the movie here. So the movie starts. I do just want to bring it up just because again, fucking I do love Fred Willard. I love when he pops up in things, and I do appreciate the Christopher Guest stable of performers showing up in these late 90s teen comedies, a la, like Eugene Levy in American Pie. I'm like, I feel like we
Mm-hmm.
were denied a late 90s raunchy teen comedy with like Michael McKean as like the principal. You know what I mean? I think that would have
Yeah.
been really good, or like where was Catherine O'Hara during some of this, right? Like
Yeah.
let's get them in. Um so I got, certainly urban legend vibes from this
Oh my
opening.
gosh, so much so. I
Right.
completely forgot that his parents are fucking dead within like minutes of this movie starting. I think I forget every time I've seen it.
It's probably where Ari Aster got the idea, for Midsummer. Was like, let's just kill the parents like early on.
Just
Let's
get
make it
that out of
real
the way.
shocking. I saw this in Idle Hands once, and we can do this differently,
But you know
So
what? I think that this is a great example to Danny that, both of your parents could be murdered and you can just be fine immediately afterwards. Like, so here's your proof, folks.
yeah, certainly I forget what it says. It's like I'm under the bed or I'm hiding under the bed, which like only shows up on those
Yeah.
neon lights when you turn the thing on. I mean, I guess he must have shown up at some point standing on the bed, like on his tippy toes, trying to write on the ceiling. Or
Yeah,
if he
and
got a
just
ladder
didn't
up there.
remember it or like I don't know. That beginning sequence doesn't super make sense to me. I just feel like they had to get the parents out of the picture early on because how else was this movie going to play out? Um yeah, I mean I'll wait till we get to the end cuz how would this all really play out for him for Anton in the end?
Prison,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, you get just very, very short-lived, Fred Willard, to die off screen. Poor guy,
Mhm.
And then the mom, I was trying to see if she's in other things, but she wasn't the person that I thought I recognized. For some reason,
Mhm.
I was like getting vibes of like the mom from Twin Peaks, but different
Mm.
actress. Slowest 911 dial I've ever seen in my life. When she finally gets to the
It's a
bed and it's
calm
like literally
911
three
dial.
numbers. And then Seth Green even makes that stupid joke later on. He's like, "Oh, we got to call 911. What's the number?"
Yeah,
And oh
which
my
is
god,
in the trailer. I remember seeing it so many times.
yeah.
Um,
And she gets pulled under the bed, and I'm like wondering like what's going on under there? Like, how is he like? Because like the bed starts like bouncing like underneath, and then there's
and
like
he's
a
like
blood
shaking it.
splatter that happens. I don't
And are
even
we
know what's
presuming
going
that
on.
he's asleep, like while this is happening, and the hand is just doing all of it?
Yeah, I guess like the hand is doing everything while he is asleep, a la Always Forget with the
You
parkour.
fucking better not be bringing up Malignant again.
Yeah. So a la Malignant, I suppose. Same
He's
concept.
just passed out while his hand is doing all the murdering.
I think James Wan was like, hey, just like
So
just like
many,
Ari Aster.
so
He
many
was like,
filmmakers inspired by this.
yeah, I've got this idea, but instead of the hand, what if it's like their whole like fucking back and they're like flipping through things, Like I think this would be great. And it was originally conceived as yes, an idle hands too, but it was like, I don't
Spoilers
know.
for Malignant
Spoilers for Malignant, I guess. Yeah.
if
Sorry,
you want to
everybody.
watch it. I feel bad for his parents. I'm
Yeah.
only because these are not characters that we really get to know. But one thing that we do know is that they go all out for decorating for Halloween. And so they're good people. They didn't deserve this.
Yeah, I agree. They did not deserve this. That's a bummer. And
Mhm.
when the mom just likes to decorate, she's already looking at Thanksgiving decorations, and Fred Willard's like, whoa, 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 honey, this and this and this and
Slow
this.
it down.
Slow it down. Let's savor the Halloween spirit,
Yeah,
But
as we all should.
I'm trying to think how long I could go without realizing that my parents were gone or dead. I mean, honestly, even when he's like making that like fucking sandwich, just the weird, like, I love it. Like when that like whatever that like half like porno, half fitness video or whatever that was like
Yeah,
playing on the TV. I think it's just a fitness video. And
it's a
just that
fitness
look on his,
video.
just those like dead eyes and his like half
Dumb
open mouth,
look
just
on
like,
his face.
as he's just like using like the longest, like, like a giant knife to just like, he's
Oh my God,
just
I
slap.
love the blood with the mayonnaise.
I love it too. I think even
It's
without the
so much
blood though,
mayonnaise.
he's just slapping around mayo left and right. It's like all over his hands and he's about to eat it. So like that doesn't bother him at all. But I also appreciate how kind of cartoonish. I like how when he realizes thing, I know this is really dumb, I'm sorry, but just how he realizes that he's like out of things, like he has to like hold up the milk, turn it upside down and go, huh? There's no milk coming out. Even though, dude, you can lift that up and absolutely realize it's empty. When he realizes that he's out of weed, he has to be like, reach for the bag, be like, huh? It's like an empty bag. And it's like, bro, you know that you're out of weed or you're using your last nug, dude. Like, fucking,
I think it's like
I
a
don't care how high
way,
you are.
yeah, I think it's just a way to show how
Just
immature and
disconnected from
useless
everything.
and yeah,
Yeah.
like how he just is barreling through life with no attention to anything. Like just his own comfort and laziness and needs, but like he expects that things are just going to show up, I guess, for him.
Well, clearly he doesn't realize that there is a fucking rash of murders happening all over town. So when he goes over to see, Seth Green and other Mighty Duck guy. Sorry, it's Eldon. I've got the
What
name right
is
here.
his
Eldon
fucking
Henson.
name?
Panub, and they
Panub.
and I thought it was maybe a silent P. Like how there's a silent G in host, but it's Panub. Like, because I think they say it a couple times. So these murders happening all around town. So yeah, so the idea is that didn't even just kill his parents. There were the twins that were at the who work at the fast food place, the like Jungle Burger, which we'll see later on.
I don't know that
Um,
all of those murders were him though, because remember when
they are when they find.
oh shit, you're right. Yes, yes, yes. Because I was like, once she enters the mix, it seems like she's hunting someone else and that it's moved to him. But you're right, because of the mementos.
All of the murders that happen in that town are, I believe, his hand.
That's just wild that he wouldn't wake up.
Yeah. Again, that's probably where they got the idea for Malignant. Same situation.
Same
Um,
situation.
where was I going with all of this?
Just his overall uselessness as a person. Like we really need to be under the impression that this is a teenage boy with no direction, no goals, nothing.
I do appreciate how the town's answer to all of these murders is like, yes, we'll have a curfew. Yes. But we
Hmm.
also understand it's Halloween. So kids are just going to be kids, right? So what are we going to do? So let's call a curfew through the city, but
Hmm.
also hold a Halloween dance at the school.
Smart.
I didn't appreciate. Again, there's so many 90s references in this that I wonder if like somebody watching this now would get all of it. Like, geez, the fucking the Red Shoe Diaries reference.
When I was watching this, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, if I were like not a child of the 90s and watched this now, would you get it?
They're talking about how like oh, it's like, oh, why would we want to go to that dance? Like, can you see us wearing costumes, grooving to Hanson and Jewel? And I'm like, bro, if you told me like in high school that there was, a Halloween party, or maybe not, like, fuck any other sort of dance. It will be a Halloween specific one. We'll be jamming Jewel. I like Jewel. Fuck y'all.
I love
She's
Jewel.
okay. And
Yeah.
I love Hanson. Get the
We
fuck
love
out of here.
Hanson. We fucking
So,
love Hanson here.
yeah,
So
we do.
nobody better be talking shit.
I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And then also just, and then just, I think also I have some trauma, some childhood trauma of just growing up in Southern California. And just whenever I just hear Sublime, I just immediately cringe a little bit.
Yeah, when I heard Sublime, I was like, oh.
Because I think Santeria like pops up like and that same thing. It's like you only could afford one song, so you got to play Santeria a few
It
different
feels that
times.
way. Like maybe a lot of that $25 million budget was spent on the soundtrack and they were like, "Oh, we are getting our money's worth." I mean, who knows? How much did they have to pay the Offspring? They were at like peak fame.
That was a year after or the year of Pretty Fly for a White Guy,
No,
which
did they not play it in this movie?
they don't. And I would say for better or worse, that probably be the peak of their fame because that song, whew, that's tough.
Well, it transcended
That whole album, to
like
be honest, is
listeners.
it's you they were the Offspring was like we've reached so much of our base, and yet we don't have the people that like to quote Rob Schneider in Adam Sandler movies, saying you can do it.
I always assumed that they were very self-aware when they put that song out, and it was like meant to make fun of a lot of what white guys were doing in the late 90s. Like your stands, if you will. But I would not dare talk shit on the Offspring, especially on recording, because for those of you who don't know, my husband might just be like one of their number one fans still to this day. The Offspring plays so much in my household. Whenever he is sad, he'll put that on or Real Big Fish.
Yes. Hey, and hey, I forgot what episode I was I was defending ska a couple episodes ago. So,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, I don't know. It's pretty, yeah, I don't, yeah, I don't know. But yes, I would say I'll listen to The Offspring over Sublime.
Oh,
Easy.
1000%. I've never listened to Sublime. I only know their singles.
Yeah.
Nothing about their music has ever appealed to me.
And then also the other thing too, just in the 90s, like God, that's something I just can't relate to anymore. Just like how hard it was to like just find weed.
I know. I thought that was really interesting.
We live in two completely legal states now.
Yeah. I mean, they are minors too. So that like, yes, it would still be easier for them now, but
I feel like that didn't stop me
um
from getting booze, as a minor. I feel like that was still pretty easy.
where are they? Where are they located?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you that. Where does this movie take place? I
I don't
can't.
fucking know. Is it an imaginary town?
I was trying to work it off that pentagram map that Vivica A. Fox drew out, and I was trying to
I
see
feel
like
like that was a stretch too, how she got to that pentagram. Like she just adds in lines to a circle. There's
I
like
love that. I feel like if you just gave me any sort of like a random grouping of cities on a map, I'd figure out a way to make that into a pentagram. I'd be like, oh my God, or they're, or it's not like it's like ley lines kind of a little bit, but like I
yeah,
don't know if ley lines always make a shape of a pentagram. I'm pretty sure they
no.
don't. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was funny. I love her whole vibe. The one thing that I didn't understand at first with her, okay, so she's not a nun because you see her as a nun, and I think she needs to
No,
be a,
she's undercover.
but she uses her real name.
Mm.
So I was like, why?
But the way that she rips that nun outfit off of her like super hot like huntress outfit, like I don't see that being her actual look.
Yeah, and it's just funny because it's like she's like, oh, I need to pretend to be a nun to get into this jail. I'll use my real name because I guess who cares?
Why not?
So I guess the important part is that she needs to be a nun. Only nuns are allowed direct access like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's also a druid priestess of a long line of druids that, are sworn to fight this one specific thing, which is when the devil takes over a hand, which has been
I mean,
happening, right?
there could be generations that haven't even had to actually do that. And like, every now and then, like every couple decades, maybe it pops up as a problem.
Right.
And she's just one of the unlucky ones.
Yeah. Or it's like a Slayer situation where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
kind of on, kind of a line of people just kind of always on standby, but and then when they get their number, they get their number. I would have preferred Vivica A. Fox to, I think, a number of the Slayers on that show.
Oh, 100%.
I
Yeah.
think she'd be great. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
she'd be the second best behind Buffy. Probably. You could probably slot her in pretty easy. I know. Yeah, I like how I just flippantly say I have a lot of opinions around Buffy when I've seen very little
I
compared to
know
you.
that I've seen it quite a few times.
I feel like I'll see if it pops up in my head, but I feel like there was some other random Buffy reference that I was like, I bet you'll know. Yes, actually, I know exactly what it is, and I'll bring it up later.
Okay.
So
How far did we get into this movie?
well, so basically, there's two things that are happening right now. You introduce Vivica A. Fox, who's doing her thing,
Mm-hmm.
driving around the country trying to find this evil hand, and then Devon Sawa finds out there's all these murders that are going on, and also we introduce Jessica Alba, who's riding her motorcycle around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's more of like a scooter or
It's like
something.
a little
It's
like a Vespa,
that yeah, it's like a more like not like a motorcycle, but a motorbike
like
kind
a
of, but
moped.
not yeah, kind of situation. So,
Yeah.
but then like trying to do her like kind of cool look, and I'm sorry, no one looks,
No
you
one
know,
looks cool on those.
yeah, no one. I was gonna
You could
say I
say it.
know I'm pro helmet, I'm pro safety, but no one looks cool in a helmet. Come on.
No one looks cool in a helmet at all.
Take off that
And
helmet, put in a cigarette, then you're gonna
those
start looking cool.
those those moped Vespa things, I'm sorry to anyone listening who drives one or has. I fucking hate those things. I think they are the dorkiest looking fucking things I've ever seen. And that's my hot take on those. They also just seem really unsafe. Like if a motorcycle is not safe, imagine getting hit by a car on one of those. Oh, you're squished. Absolutely squished. I wouldn't want my teenager driving one of those.
I don't think I know anybody who rides a motorcycle regularly that has all of their like original skin intact.
Mm-hmm.
Usually some sort of accident or something.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like, I've I've never met a skateboarder that didn't have a broken arm at some point. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
God, we just got Phil a skateboard for Christmas.
well, that's what's gonna
Oh,
you've seen those skate videos. The whole second half is watching them
no,
all
I
eat
have not
shit.
seen skate videos, Kyle.
Oh my god.
Are you
Well,
kidding? Do I
yeah,
seem like the type of person that watches a fucking skate video?
I mean, I didn't think I was going to be either, but again, growing up in Southern California, I don't know. It's just always on. You just have
It's just everywhere.
some birdhouse fucking video on. I don't know. It's
Oh my
it was
goodness.
just like the white noise of my childhood was that shit. Um yeah, before that evolved into like Jackass, where they're like, do we need the skateboards? I think people just like
Let's
to see
just
bones getting broken,
yeah, let's just break everything.
So Johnny Knoxville and his like ragtag group of children, like
Yeah.
let's do this. So yeah, and of course then he introduced, yeah, yet again, we already talked about Jessica Alba and her whole vibe and her whole character. I guess I also, just for the sake of just kind of getting through the pace of this movie, I didn't mind how it was like, we don't need to, she even says like, we don't need to do this sneaking around stuff. We don't need to do this building up to us like being a couple. Let's just start at it. Let's just go, I like
Yeah,
how
obviously there's a lot of tension and history there that we don't get access to in this movie because yeah, she jumps into that pretty quick and she seems like she also feels like two characters because she's supposed to be this like artsy musician, but she also seems like she's probably the most popular girl in school. And so I think Anton is kind of a stretch for her as a partner because he just seems like a mess and she seems like she's probably got a laundry list of hobbies and friends and he's just the total opposite. Maybe that's just me reading far more into the plot than it even exists.
It's like she's got to be the popular girl, but she's got to be also kind of the punk rocker, and then she's also got to
Mm-hmm.
be the girl next door, you know. So it's all of
Oof,
those
that's a lot
things.
of things.
I know. So poor Jessica Alba, she's got to be, you know, yeah. So let's give her credit being able to carry all these performances at once. I'm not going to say that it lands well necessarily because it's still very confusing, the whole thing. But it's just hard where watching these. I don't remember how I processed watching these scenes when I was younger, a much more impressionable child, but like especially watching this now
We would have
and
been
just
like
the
12.
way, yeah, which
Yeah.
I'm like that's like the worst, honestly, in a lot of cases the worst age to watch this movie because some of these lessons and some of this language that's thrown around in this movie, it's like, oh my gosh. And the way that it's his hand's behavior is not only excused but encouraged, you know, like she,
Hey now. I'm gonna defend not the hand, Jessica Alba's character on this one because
sure,
her reaction to all this shit, like sorry for oversharing, mom, if you're listening. Her reaction to that hand and all of that shit would have been my same reaction in high school. I would have been like, oh, okay, you want to get rough? Like literally, I absolutely like
um yeah, again, I don't know the context and the history of their relationship. They probably certainly know each other well enough, maybe, I don't know, but at the
well, it
same
seems like
time,
they grew up next to each other. But I mean, like, they're down to fuck. Like they do fuck. So I mean,
yeah, I think if she wasn't already just so completely down to have sex with him from the get-go,
yeah.
then it probably would have worked out maybe a little differently, I would think. But I'm like, it's just how, you know, uh, because it's not. I don't know where I want to land with this, but again, I do think it's like, no, that's sexual assault, and he's hurting her, and then but I like how she's just like, you know, well, first, like, you know, that like the ass grab, and of course she's like, I'm impressed. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, you
So,
know
but
what?
that's the
You know,
thing. That's
well,
the thing.
I don't like encouraging men to be like, that's what women want. That's how you show that you're in control, that you have, you know, you
So here's the thing.
women
One,
find that sexy. Don't worry.
it's
But hey, if you're saying
1999.
that they do,
It's 1999. Number two, like so you've got the datedness there. So like you can't get around that. Like there's some questionable, language and things that are like clearly outdated and not the best. And then you've got this scene, which like you can find this scene in many a 90s comedy movie where it's like
yeah.
a dude doing something fucking dumb and the girl being like, oh,
Oh,
intriguing.
ooh,
Like,
I like that.
yeah, but I think the reason why like this isn't like the worst thing in the world to me, one, because nothing in this movie is believable at all. Two, you've got a situation where like again, like Jessica Alba is super into him, like super duper into him. So she's not at any point giving even the audience hints of like discomfort, uncomfortableness, or like anything being
Mm,
wrong. Like
I was uncomfortable watching
you,
this
no, you
now.
as the audience, like I'm saying, her reaction is not like she doesn't give like a no reaction at any point. And I'm not saying that that's the filmmakers doing that. Like she's an actress, but like when you're watching it as someone in the audience, if she was like, oh, no, like I'm not into that, and then the hand continues to do all the things that it's doing, I feel like the scene would play out a lot differently. So, again, one of those situations where it's a scene from a stupid comedy in the 90s and that's how it's going to play out. But like if you're watching it from a 2023 lens, absolutely, like that this scene in this movie would be weird in a movie now.
When they're on the bed and his right hand like literally like starts choking her,
Yeah.
right? Pretty quickly. And then she's like, okay, I don't that hurts. I don't like this. And then he fucking like goes and starts fucking choking her again. And then like she gets up and she's looking concerned. And then he's like, no, 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 don't even worry. I'm just gonna tie my hand to this post. You know, this one that keeps trying to like hurt you and choke you and kill you. I'm just gonna tie this one. And then she goes, ooh, kinky. Oh. And then she's like, yeah, all right, I guess we're gonna fuck now. And then they
Yeah.
do. And you're just like, okay. there's a lot of there's a lot. I mean, and that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of just like, oh geez, just the awful
Well, and his dumbass shouldn't have even been there in the first place. Like, you have a murderous hand, and you're literally willing to risk this girl's life to have sex. That's the worst part.
well, it's like I wonder, like, is it really his hand that's dragging him along from place to place without
Oh,
thinking?
in that situation, absolutely not. Like he's blaming his hand, but he fucking follows her.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. The hand was like, nah, dude, that's not me, man. That's your dick. That is
Yeah, he's like
that is your
a
dick just
different body part is leading you at this point.
just dragging him around,
Yeah.
from place to place. I'm pretty sure that was, I think, Robot Chicken, Seth Green, right? I think they
Yeah.
did some sort of parody on that. I think I remember seeing that like in the IMDb trivia where it was like,
Oh,
but
that's silly.
it was like testicles that were possessed, I
Oh
think. So
God.
I didn't watch it, but I'd assume probably some sort of version, whatever. I know. Yeah, I mean, we hopped around quite a bit, but of course, the friends find out that his parents are dead. I mean, he finds out that his parents are dead. The killer was in his
Mm-hmm.
house. He's finding out that it's him, or he finds
Mm-hmm.
out it's him. Like it's very solidified when Mick and Penub find out, and then he kills the both of them.
Well, he didn't realize that it was him until they were there, right? Because
Exactly.
he's
Yeah.
holding a piece of the t-shirt and he's like, "What the fuck?" Like looking down at it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
because I do remember, when the first time watching this movie in a while, I'm like, well, I do know the two friends come back, but everyone else who's dead is dead. So how does that work? Or like what makes this different? And when he buries his parents and buries his friends, and
Mm-hmm.
then the friends come back, and like literally it was just like explained with a line of dialogue like, oh yeah, 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 I mean, like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and play angels and play music and
That
stuff
shit's
like
far
that,
away.
but that shit's far away. So we're like, no, we're good. So I'm like, is it that easy? And then why aren't there more people? And then also, if Anton at the end, I know I'm trying to, I'm not trying to come up with reasonings for all this, but like they even say that Anton at the end sees the light after he's crushed by the car. So is he
Mm.
already dead? Do you have to be already dead to see that light and walk towards it? Do you have to be almost dead? Because when he comes back, he's not a zombie. He's in the body cast, but he's not dead, right? So I I wasn't understanding a lot of this. I'm watching, I told you I often have the movie on in the background when we're
I don't
talking
remember.
about
Did
it.
wait, did he
He's just,
actually like see a tunnel with light at the end, or was it just like the screen like fades into white?
I think I remember like Seth Green or something maybe alluding to the fact where it's just like, like, hey man, it's not your time, turn around or
Mm.
whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I can't remember. Like, I told you I often put the movie on in the background again where we're watching it, and he just put that knitting needle or crochet
Yeah, yeah.
needle right through the cop's head. Those are pretty
I love
good.
that.
Fuck those stupid cops. That checks out pretty well, is that there's a bunch of fucking dorks that
Yeah.
got bullied in high school that turned into cops.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
his whole like Weekend at Bernie's like slapstick vibe, that kind of goes away a little bit because he doesn't have the hand controlling him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when Christopher Hart really takes his performance of the hand running around, right, as it's been
Yeah.
cut off. But I ooh, yeah, just like on the bagel cutter, with just how dull a bagel
Oh,
cutter is. I
yeah.
know. That's that's really silly.
I like the physical, like the damage that the two friends take. So you have Penub, he loses his head, and then Seth Green is like, okay, like we need to fix this. And he sticks that fucking pitchfork like into his like neck hole and then
Mm.
sticks the head on with it. Like that was very like, ugh. Yeah, that actually kind of grossed me out. Then when he eats the microwave burrito and the beans come out of his like cut open like gap between his neck and his head. That is so fucking gross, but like in the best way possible. I thought that was a really fun effect. And then they just end up taping it shut. I love it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty fun.
Again, yeah, you know, like Seth Green's using like the iron to like cauterize the end of his hand.
Which is
Again, something
smart.
he's just
I think that
he's
was
like
actually pretty smart.
he's like, have you ever seen ER?
Yeah.
ER I think was going on for I don't even is ER even still on? I don't even
No.
know.
You might be thinking of like
Um
General Hospital.
yeah. I do like speaking of we had talked about the soundtrack and some of the music choices in this movie. I always love a good reason to throw Dracula in a movie. And a
Oh
little bit of the
yeah.
video too. I would say,
Yes.
man,
Yes.
I was thinking about that top 10 90s song. What do you think?
I love that song so
Yeah,
much.
it's so
Yeah.
good. I said
Yeah.
I did top five and then I crossed out five and put 10 just in case. I wanted to be a little there's so many bangers in the 90s. So
There's so
it's
many. I mean, you have to like separate them into genres at some point because there's so many good ones from the 90s. Rob Zombie's videos were really fun too. So when they show that little clip of the of his Dracula video, that's pretty fun. Also just sitting around the house watching music videos feels very
that's a
very
vibe.
90s. Yeah.
I like how the hand always wants to watch like spooky stuff.
Yes, it keeps trying to
Eh,
change it back to horror.
yeah. And then he's just like,
Yeah.
no, let me watch cartoons. And he's like, no, spooky
Yes.
shit, Twilight Zone only. I thought that was really good.
That's good.
Um, oh my gosh. And then I do like how, and it was before he cuts his hand off, where, and that's how we reintroduce Randy again, because it's like, oh well, Randy, he listens to that Motley Crue song a lot. I think he knows a lot about the devil. Maybe you should talk to him.
Yeah.
So
What a stupid assumption.
the only time I like laughed out loud during this movie was when he was at the burger place and he takes over the drive-through duties from Tom DeLonge,
Yeah.
um, with a like bleach blonde hair at the time.
Yeah.
And then when Randy's going through the drive-through ordering his food, and then out of like the drive-through speaker that's like a monkey, it just says,
Yeah.
"Tell me what you know about the devil."
Yeah.
I laughed pretty hard during that one. Such a dumb joke, but I thought that was really great.
I also I think Seth Green's actual maybe my favorite line of his is when the knitting needles don't work out when he kills the cops. And he's like, I thought this would work. Like, or he like Randy said this would work. And Seth Green says, like, I thought you realized like this is like it's metaphorical, like not literally, like the devil's what is it? Idle hands or the devil's playground or whatever. Um, I love that he's just like it's a metaphor. So I thought that was pretty fun.
But it was working. And then also, is it a metaphor? Because you're dead and there is an evil hand that's killing people. Is it really a metaphor at this point?
That's true. I mean, I guess he did. I mean, his hands were completely idle. Like it takes some work to light that lighter up and hold that bong at the same time. So he got busy hands.
I like how it was his right hand. He was like, oh no, no, no. I use my left hand for plenty.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe I laughed a little bit there too. But
Yeah.
whatever. And then just like even still, it's just like, oh gosh, just Jessica Alba. You're like, like after he's like cut off his hand, he's still covered in blood. He's still like, waving around like a hatchet and shit. Jessica Alba's at the door in her little angel outfit, wanting to go to the dance and just be like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Should I just call me if you're going to be late though? And this and this and this, and just playing honestly so dumb with all of this
Oh,
up
so
until
dumb.
like,
And that haircut, oh my God. If she wasn't so hot, like no one else could pull off that haircut. That late 90s haircut that she has is one of the worst haircuts of that time.
I would say like her and Rachel Lee Cook kind of situation. Even though they do look very
Mm.
similar, I feel like, and they both had that same haircut. I'm thinking
No,
like
Rachel
Rachel
Lee
Lee
Cook had like
Cook.
a cute little, like, it was like a bob. Like it was like a straight bob. That is like if someone had that now, like that is a mom haircut.
Well, because they're all moms now. Like when we were that age in 1999. That makes sense.
Oh gosh.
Isn't it kind of a bob with hers? I don't know. I don't know.
It's just it is very of that time.
Yeah.
Very of that time.
I know I'm jumping around a bit still, but I think the effects in this movie, I think are generally pretty good. I would actually say
I
even the
agree.
computer effects with
Yeah.
Panub's head, and
Mm-hmm.
like his face and him talking on it. I think
Yeah,
I've seen movies come out much later than this that look much worse. So for,
absolutely.
kind of like the
They did a good
low
job.
budget kind of thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
also I love the when he puts the hand in the microwave, and then you can
Yes.
see the hand and it starts like, you can tell it's just like mechanical things just squirting blood out of it, which
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if that's
fun.
how it would happen if you microwaved a hand, but I
No, it
haven't
looks fun
tried.
though. That was
But
a fun effect for sure.
yeah, yeah, between that and, geez, I know the poor dog in Urban Legend, just think of all just like the microwave situations. But damn, and they could have been just fine. That they should have just kept that microwave closed and just gotten rid of it.
I would have
And
thought
they
that
would
would
have
have
been
killed
fine.
it, man. Like, how did it make it through that microwave situation? Like, I would have been pretty confident to open it up and just check it out. And that's not something I normally say.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, those like Tina's frozen burritos
Yeah.
that they're eating. Sorry, that popped up on the screen. I'm just like, oh
Lived off
geez.
of those in high school.
Oh, I know. I'm
They're
like,
so gross. Now I think about those and I'm just like, oh my God, the heartburn, the indigestion. Like, oh, so
yeah,
bad.
it's really awful. Um, so so he's going to the dance with Jessica Alba and she's like, what are you supposed to be? And then he's like, oh, I'm just like a bloody fast food person,
Yeah, he
which
said, what did he
also,
say? Like a fast food like worker accident gone wrong or something?
which I'm like, given the two people like at your school that died at this fast food restaurant, I would think, even
Kind of
especially knowing
insensitive.
it's pretty insensitive. Not let's ignore the fact that like you're the one responsible, or at least your hand's the one
Yeah.
responsible for that. Um, yeah, I love how the friends are so. It's like there's like an urgency usually from like Devon Sawa, but not from anybody else. Like everybody else is like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, like his things, or maybe Vivica A.
Yeah.
Fox, like those
He's
two
the only
maybe.
other one.
They
I feel
seem to
like
be the only ones actually concerned.
his friends are dead. Like they're just there for the ride. Like they don't give a shit what happens to him. Like they're like, well, if this is his worst case scenario, like we're already here. So so be it. Like I'd be pretty cavalier.
It's like they open up the microwave and the hand just launches out and runs away, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, they're like, we still need to eat these burritos. Like, and the fact that they still use the microwave, like, I wonder if they would have been the same way had they still been alive, or if because they are the living dead now, they have maybe a different moral compass.
I don't know. I think I made kind of a dumb joke about that during the Urban Legend episode, where it was like, how long do you think, like in a normal just like college dorm microwave, how long do you think before someone would clean out those pieces of dog? Like
Yeah.
how many bowls of spaghettios were microwaved before that was finally cleaned out? I
Yeah.
would, so same kind of vibe. I also like when
Yeah.
they're at the high school later and, Devin Sawa was like, I forget exactly what happens, but they're like, fuck, you let him out again, or you let it get away. And then Penub's just like, fine then, dude, fuck you. And then like he's just turning around just to walk
Yeah.
off. Like he's just like, I guess I'm done. I don't care.
Yeah.
I
He's
just like
like,
how
what?
just quickly
I don't care.
he's like, I don't know, let them kill everybody. I also don't understand the whole, I mean, I don't need to, but the whole kind of vibe with this devil hand situation will kill until, but it also needs to drag someone to hell before midnight on a certain day. I don't know after how many days the devil needs to be, or the hand needs to be killing people before that.
Or like a certain amount of bodies, maybe.
There was another time I laughed out loud, but not, I don't think it was it was intentionally, but they're like, well, but your girlfriend's gonna get dragged to hell at midnight. And Devin Sava's like, well, that's cool. I mean, it's like only a few minutes to 9. We got plenty of time. And then
Yeah.
Vivica A. Fox is like, no, druid time. And I'm like, where does this movie take place? And I was thinking, if it takes place in California, is druid time just
East
Atlantic
Coast.
time, East Coast time?
Yeah.
Is that it's
Pacific
just,
or Eastern Standard Time?
yeah, druid time is like,
Perhaps.
oh,
Like,
so
okay, you could have just said EST.
yeah, that's it. They say it at the end. See, this is why I put this on in the background. They're in Bolin, right? But I couldn't remember if
Oh.
exactly is it even the name of a, it's
I do like that they threw in that extra kill of that couple in the car because otherwise I feel like the body count would be a little bit low.
why does she have to be topless to
I knew
die?
it. I was like, you're going to complain about seeing titties in a movie. I
Aren't I the worst fucking dude
You're
for this
the
kind of shit?
worst. I number one, that woman has amazing breasts.
Yeah, that's it's a yes,
The
and
biggest
it's also
thing
true.
wrong with that scene is if there are 3 hands on my breasts, I will tell you right now, I'm going to notice right away.
Yeah,
I'm not just going to be like, wow, what is he doing? What magic is
I
this
like this.
person bringing on? No, there are 3 hands on you, girl. One of them is dead, so it probably is cold as hell as well. And there is one thing that no one wants on their boobs, and that is freezing cold hands.
Cold rotting flesh.
Cold rotting flesh. It could be alive, it could be dead. Just don't be cold.
But you know what? I was about to be, well, especially because like I thought, don't get me wrong. I think just part of it's just like, especially post Scream, I'm like, now that we've like just blown up that whole concept in Scream, and among other movies, like, do we really need this type of whatever? But I do appreciate, hey, equal situation, even though we don't get to see any dong from the other guy. Not that I
Mm-hmm.
need to, but
It's
it's
disappointing how few times you get to see full male frontal in movies.
I do appreciate though where, hey, you know what? Not only a woman was sexually assaulted and then killed by this hand, this other dude at the school was sexually assaulted with, because I didn't remember that part in the movie because I was like watching it with my wife and I'm like I would feel better if the hand just went, from dude to dude, crawling up hands, ripping out dongs, and then just going from one to one to one, like that would even it out a little bit, right? And then lo and behold, it does. So, or at
Yeah.
least for that one guy. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's at least the movie, at least the movie sets an equal playing. Well, not really, but I don't know. That was that was my observation.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile, right, they all go back to this school dance. The hand's on the way to the dance. Jessica Alba's on her way to the dance. The
mm,
3 dudes hop into, or they all conveniently, the keys. Randy leaves the keys to his fucking
His
truck.
precious, precious truck. If it's
Yeah.
that fucking precious, don't leave it unlocked with your keys on the fucking, what is that thing called? Visor.
Yeah. And also, speaking of like casual sexual assault, I know, is when they take off in the truck, Jessica, Vivica A. Fox, I always gonna Vivica and Jessica, I'm always gonna get them mixed up. I'm sorry. But she jumps behind the truck and says no. And then, she gets hit and gets launched like 20 feet, straight,
Yeah, yeah.
And then falls onto the thing. When Randy like kneels down next to her and is like about to give CPR, he like looks at her, looks up, like looks to the left, to the right,
Yeah.
and then has this little grin.
Yeah.
And then puts his mouth on her mouth. Like he's like,
Like,
ooh, this is my vibe. I'm gonna get away with this. Like he's not like, oh, let me save her life. Like, I'm gonna get some sexual gratification
that's
out of
the
this. It's
weirdest. That's
awful.
actually probably the weirdest thing in this movie because clearly his intention is to like make sure that she's breathing and perform CPR. Because like when he does that, I was like, oh my God, is he gonna like feel her up? Like I thought he was gonna do
Yeah.
something way different with that posturing, the eye work, the smirk, and then just like does regular CPR. I'm like, dude, if that's exciting to you, like to give a woman CPR, like you obviously have not been having anything going on in your life because that is odd. Very strange.
The most recent CPR class I took, the new kind of thought, the new school of thought is, the mouth to mouth really honestly isn't the most important thing by any means. It's really just,
The chest work,
the
right?
chest compressions and
Yeah.
getting that, just to kind of keep the, oxygen moving through those organs
Mm-hmm.
before the paramedics arrive. So I wonder if they did that, one, because I think people are uncomfortable doing that, especially for a stranger. And then
Mm.
two, also to ward off perverts. I think of that scene
Yeah.
in dude, how many times people fucking probably hate how much I reference movies and can't remember the name of them. The
You're great
Sandlot
at that.
is what I'm thinking about. With a Sandlot, that scene with our pal from Scream 4 and 5, Marley
I've only
Shelton.
ever seen, okay, so I've only ever seen Sandlot once.
Marley Shelton
So
is a like a young, attractive high school, young attractive to these boys.
she's a
She's young and
lifeguard,
attractive.
right?
Yeah, she's a
Yeah,
lifeguard.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't want to say young, attractive high schooler. I'm like, well, she's attractive to these children,
Yeah.
not to me as a 36-year-old man. Um, but yeah, Marley Shelton, she's great, love her. But
She's the
so
best.
it's so maybe those changes in CPR is also just to ward off perverts like the dude in
They were
Sandlot and
like,
Randy
maybe we
here.
don't need people just putting their faces on other people's faces.
Yeah. So they all ultimately make it to this dance. I Oh my God. Her and Tanya, I do like Tanya a lot, even though Tanya does drop a pretty very not cool word
Oh
earlier
yeah.
on. But I do like the dancing situation where it's like what they're doing. I'm trying to do the dance right now, but
The way that Jessica Alba dances in this movie is so good and so strange. Like I hope no one watches this and is like, is that how people danced in the 90s? Because it's not. It absolutely is not. She's dancing in her like to the beat of her own drummer.
she's dancing alone, where they're both dancing alone together, but both doing that whole same kind of vibe. It was pretty funny. But
Yeah.
she wants to get early because she doesn't want to miss the band. And you have the Offspring that play this band, and they do like one original, and then they also do that Ramones cover.
Mm-hmm.
um i I was wondering if I was the Offspring or some band, or and the city of Bolin, or the high school, or school
Mm-hmm.
district, they come to me and say, hey, here's the situation. um there's been a pretty wild string of murders, pretty gruesome murders throughout this city, and we have no leads. Um, and everyone's in a real panic. So we're gonna put in a curfew. and we're going to put everybody in a Halloween dance, but we need a band to play. Do you have any questions or any issues with that? Or, I'm thinking like, would I just like take the check and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll do it? Or be like, this is a weird situation. I don't know if I want to be in a small town in a centralized area where like everybody is. And when there's like a murderer running loose and you have like no leads, like whatsoever, and they're super gruesome murders. And of course, turns out, hey, they made the greedy choice and said, yeah,
I
we'll
would do
take that
it.
check, we'll play that show, and then look what
Yeah.
happened to poor Dexter Holland there.
I know. I always forget that he dies too.
Yeah, I think he's the only one that gets a line out of the four of them. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, kid, you've had your fun,
Yeah.
whatever. And then he gets his like, yeah, scalp ripped off.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't
I
know.
hope that
Yeah.
he asked for that. I hope he was like, listen, if I'm going to be in this movie, like I would like to be murdered.
Same high school, I believe, is the same high school auditorium as the one at the end of Buffy, the movie, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I think I remember reading
interesting.
that somewhere. And then I forgot the whole puppet situation.
I always forget that fucking puppet. And I love that it's able to like match the expression. Like, I feel like they just had to find a way
Yeah.
to, I don't know, give the hand more of a character. It gets pretty silly when
Yeah.
the puppet's involved, for sure. It's a little much.
Funny enough, I was talking about like, I don't remember about any other need for detached hands in things after this movie. So, of course, you don't see Christopher Hart much or his hand much in anything. But his last on screen performance was same year, a 1999 episode of Angel. Um,
Yeah.
he played the hands in an episode called I Fall to Pieces. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I actually was when I was looking through his IMDb when you brought him up, I noticed that. And yes, I do remember that.
Seeing that he had some bit piece in an episode of Angel, and then I remember the puppets in the end of this. I was like, is he in that puppet episode of
No,
that
no, no. It's
show?
not. No, it's not that same episode, but that's a great
But does
episode.
he play one hand or two hands? Does he play both hands?
I don't remember that. That part I don't remember. I haven't watched Angel in a long time.
I feel like
I'm
everybody's memory
rusty.
of Angel is a little hazier than Buffy, because I mean, obviously it was the lesser show probably of the two.
Definitely the lesser show of the two, but I will say it's a
Fun in their
fucking
both
solid
ways.
show. It's a solid show. There's one season that you probably could forget, but it's pretty good.
I do like the puppet fight. That's all really fun.
Yeah. Wait, Tanya's her best friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Tanya retired from acting shortly after this and is married to Hank Azaria. She's a therapist in like Kansas City or something.
Oh, good for her. I like her character. I like that she's like she's into Peneb and she's like making out with him and Seth Green is like, dude, that's fucking gross. Like you're dead.
Dude, if someone wanted to make out with Seth Green, he would have
He would have went for it. Absolutely. He was
absolutely.
just being bitter, but I love that she gets chopped up by the fan.
Oh yeah, this like fucking like out of a James Bond villain lair
Yes.
situation, crawling through these vents, and then the fan. Um, I did think it was really funny. I did laugh a little bit when Seth Green was like, "I'm not going through all this, Tanya."
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fucking funny.
So, I but and then also like, where did we went to high school together?
Yeah.
Um, we did not have a puppet theater as much as I remember, as far as I remember, right?
You never saw the puppet theater?
No, did we have one?
No.
Yeah. um,
Like, damn, you missed out.
I'm like, and it's like just like like there's like a number of puppets in this high school. This is a high school, mind you. A number of puppets and a whole ass like, and by whole ass I mean like how big it's like those like puppet stages that you see.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
very you know maybe 5 feet by 4 feet or something like that with a little curtain on it. But I'm just like, where the fuck is this?
You
Like,
know,
I
when
remember
I
watching.
when I watched it, I that didn't even register because the school that I am most frequently in is a fucking elementary school. So puppets being all over a classroom would be like totally normal.
That
I didn't
tracks.
even like register like, oh, this is a high school. Like they wouldn't just be making puppets in art class like a bunch of fucking second graders.
Again, yeah, I agree with you. I love that the puppet's expression changes somehow.
So
Because you know
good.
what? Fuck it. He's the devil. Like, what? Yeah, like what's
He
I
can
don't
do what he
at
wants.
this point, anything can happen in this movie, and I'd
Yes.
believe it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really love how so Vivica A. Fox and Randy, they're able to come to the high school. They find Devon Sawa, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "Hey, we're here to fight this demon or whatever." And then Devon Sawa's like, "Okay, cool, awesome. What's the plan?" And then she's like, "Die."
Yeah.
Just to kill him,
Try to kill
you
him.
know.
Doesn't even look at his hands. Like he's
Yeah,
missing a fucking hand. Didn't even
yeah,
look down.
I know. And then like, Jesus, the whole time even Randy's just like, it's a little extreme, kitten boots or whatever the fuck he calls
Yeah.
her. Or like, what's the fucking baby snakes?
Does he
What
call her that?
Jessica Alba calls Devon Sawa that a few different times. They
I
have
like
pet
that
names
she
for each
goes
other, and it's
straight
baby snakes.
to like pet names after one encounter of being like, we're gonna fuck and then we're officially boyfriend and girlfriend.
And poor Peanut, just I feel like he was thinking like, did I have like, is this does the dead look? Is that's the turn on for girls? Because maybe he just didn't have like much of like an interest in going out and trying to date. But I'm like, I don't know, maybe things could have worked out if he were still
I
alive. Well,
know.
and
Or
then
if Tanya didn't get like into little tiny pieces, like, she could have come back as a zombie.
how does that work? So if you die
Mm.
and she have that opportunity as well? She sees the light. What if she
Would
was
you want
like,
to go back to that body?
well, but there isn't one anymore. So I'm like, how does that work? I mean,
That's what I'm
again,
saying. Like, then are you
just
just like a blob?
poking dumb
Or maybe
holes,
you're just a ghost. Yeah. Yeah. We can't think too much about that.
Dude, I forgot fucking Offspring, man. I forgot like the guitar players like wearing like a um I always have a reference and I never who's the mayor of Flavortown?
What?
Guy Fieri. That's it.
Can't with you.
He's wearing like a Guy
I
Fieri
was like,
shirt with
what
like
are you talking about?
he's the mayor of Flavortown.
Right.
He makes the donkey sauce.
That is not those clues are not leading me anywhere.
Yeah, the mayor of Flavortown with the donkey sauce.
Wow.
But he has like, but the guy from Offspring, I've seen this shit before or that shirt before where it's like got, it's like the button up kind of
Oh,
short
the
t-shirt and it's got
flames.
the
That's what
flames
you're
on it.
referring to. That whole spiel just now is just to get to like that flame button-up shirt that we all
Yeah.
know from the late 90s.
I think it's Needles is his name. He calls himself Needles, dude from Offspring. Joel would know.
Of
Um
course.
and so originally the ending of this movie was supposed to, and I guess there's a deleted scene we could probably find on YouTube where it shows there's supposed to be this kind of similar, maybe it was too similar to the Faculty because it ended like at the pool and there was like a
Oh.
giant monster in a portal like of like a wall of like hands trying to like drag them to hell.
Oh, that would have been
And
cool. It was probably too
yeah,
expensive.
well, and they thought that like tonally it didn't work with the rest of the movie. So I
Hmm.
guess then the plan was, I guess this is how the devil brings people to hell is to strap her on top of a car, paint a swastika on the roof,
No,
and
it's a
then like
pentagram.
sorry, oh
A
whatever. Both
swastika.
both shitty. Hey, both evil little symbols,
Both
right?
evil.
Um and paint a pentagram on the ceiling and then yeah, tie her to the roof of this car and then like press her into it.
So I think, okay, here's my theory.
Uh-huh.
I don't I don't know that the car is actually necessary, like, and why the pentagram was put on the ceiling, because it probably would have just been easier to draw it on the ground. Because I think the idea is you just need blood on the pentagram. Like that would be enough to open
Yeah,
whatever portal we wanted to do. So I'm assuming it
sure.
needs to be like all of her blood, like completely drained of blood. But like at that point, couldn't you just draw it on the ground and just slice her up? Like, wouldn't that be easier?
Yeah, you just hang her upside down and slit her throat and just, I
Yeah,
mean, you can
like
do clearly you've shown you can do all of this. So I don't know why
exactly. Like what's holding you
that.
back? Like why the car? Um,
So
but
it
it's
made,
a fun and weird. It was a weird choice.
and then with the puppet just cranking
I
the
love
thing,
that. I love it.
where I was like, you wonder if the movie could get any dumber when you're an hour and 20 in. But fuck, man, that last ending, it's like, no, we're just gonna bring this down just another level of
Yeah.
fucking stupidity with this.
Well,
And we'd ultimately saving the day, I guess.
yeah,
They
it's
they
such a
they
dumb
hotboxed the glove or the puppet.
yes. Which I think is funny enough. Like that didn't bother me. Nothing like none of the dialogue like truly bothers me between the two best friends, but the one thing that I was just like why, and I don't know why this bothered me so much, is their argument of whether or not he made that bong. Like he's like, "No, like I made this." And he's like, "No, you didn't." Like the guy's like, and I'm just like, "Who the fuck cares?" Like it feels like such an unnecessary and dumb joke that just it didn't land for me at all.
Exactly. I think like honestly, 90% of their interactions just fall really fucking flat between
That was
those
the worst
two.
for me for sure. But I did
Yeah.
I I didn't mind the like they could have just been like, "Oh my god, like remember I was working on this in fucking shop class." And like that could have just been it, like just to segue it in there. Um yeah, I do enjoy the outrageousness of like I think it's Devon Sawa was like trying to save her and he like pulls on the dress and of course the dress just like completely rips off and is just like a bra and panties on
Of
top of the
course.
car. Like it's just of course it is. Um so I love that little piece there too and I like that she gets like almost squished. Like she has to actually turn her face to like fit in that little tiny space.
And then that's pretty much gets us to the end of this movie. But we do
Mm-hmm.
have
His friends are his guardian angels.
well, and then this whole extra piece where they're like, "Oh, we saved the day." She's just going to stay in her underwear and they're just going to make out in
Yeah.
this garage and then move their way under the car.
I
Why?
know.
And
Why?
then Jesus, and then like yeah, and then just leaves him there. I and to be fair, I'll give Pinub some credit. I think he says like, what it is, there's no reason for the car to drop that fast.
Yeah.
Why is that even an option?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
If you were
um
repairing that car, you would not want it to slam to the ground at a
yeah,
ferocious
like
speed.
yeah, what's the option that allows it to just slam fucking close? But so then it puts him in a body cast. They end up at the hospital. There's guardian
Mhm.
angels now, which I'm like, you're like, really, man? Like, so this dude that murdered me, like now, like I just have to spend not only like my the undead portion of my life, but then the afterlife portion
Yeah, they were
to
very cool about him
to
murdering
support
them. I would have been
him.
furious with you. Furious.
Yeah.
But I do like that they fuck with him and they like write the note of I'm under the bed because that's the shit I would be doing to you if you had murdered me and I had
Yeah.
to be your guardian angel. I would just haunt the shit out of you.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
would too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? And honestly, that brings us to the end of Idle Hands. I like let me like just comb through some of my notes and just see if there's like anything that is super important in my notes that I did not bring up. But I think honestly we did cover all of it. It's yeah. Anything else?
It's a pretty simple movie and it's pretty short too. It's not a long film.
That does get it points.
Yeah, this is definitely not a movie that I would watch frequently. It's been a long time since I've watched it. But it's fun to revisit it.
It's got pretty low Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, that kind of tracks. That's okay. The perception at the time was not good for this movie.
Yeah.
I did see, you know me, I always like to poke my head around, especially in the 90s, to see, you know, some dumb awards it may have won. It did send me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I'm gonna
Here
try to
we
be
go
brief,
again.
but dang. So it was nominated for one award at the 1999 Teen Choice Awards. That was
Loved
held on
those.
August 1st, 1999. Didn't have a designated host. Hey, you know, the Oscars struggle with that too. But you know, you did have Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Blink
Hmm.
182, and Sync, Gloria Estefan, love it, and
You said
Britney
Britney
Spears.
Spears.
They list Britney Spears twice. Okay.
It was a big deal.
So, but again, what a contentious time. You know, it was nominated for most disgusting scene. Um, the other nominees.
What was the disgusting scene that they were referring to?
So it's funny, Devon Sawa gets the nomination for this. So it's like Devon
Okay.
Sawa, Idle Hands, most disgusting scene. And it's when the cat is like eating at like his mom's eyeball.
I love that part.
I do too, but I'm like, hold on. First of all,
The cat should be given the credit.
the cat should have been nominated for this. So I'm like,
Probably had to put
what the
catnip all over that eyeball.
I know. So, and some of the other scenes honestly weren't that disgusting. You know,
Mm.
you have Jennifer Love Hewitt for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer for the tanning bed scene. Do you find that particularly disgusting by any means?
No, no, not
No.
at all.
Do you want to take a guess on what the winner could be? I'll give you a hint.
This
It's
is
not horror.
1999.
Yeah,
This
most
is
disgusting scene.
1999.
Mhm.
Not horror. I have no idea.
Cameron Diaz, and There's Something About Mary for her hair gel.
That's silly. The cat should have won.
That's fair. Um, but I just want to like it did send me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, which is not a rabbit hole. I'm just looking through some of these. You've got Choice Female Hottie Award with
Okay.
Jennifer Love Hewitt. I get it.
Oh, yes.
Um,
America's Sweetheart at that time.
so Choice Female Artist. This is fucked up. You have only two nominations for Choice Female Artist in 1999. You have Brandy and you've
Okay.
got Monica. And I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
Why are we turning them against each other? We like
They're already fighting over boys.
I know. Do we need to create more competition between them? Like, god damn. But I did think it was funny because Brandy was nominated for a couple of different things. You know, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, you know, for some of that. And then but Monica, I guess I forget that the that album with The Boy Is Mine, that's a Monica song featuring Brandy, correct? Not the other way around. Because I think Monica won the best song and album honors for this year or for
Oh,
that
I
year.
don't know. I always remember it being Brandy and Monica. Like that's how it like I think it was presented. It could have been on both of their albums. That's a weird thing that happens every now and then. We'll have to send that one to the research team.
But I'm just going to take you all through a wild ride through 1999. Your Choice Summer Song Award winner was If You Had My Love by Jennifer Lopez. Of
Amazing.
course. Best breakout performance, James Vanderbeek, Varsity Blues. Of
Yes.
course.
Love that movie.
Choice actor. You had a pretty
What does that
stacked
mean?
group.
Choice actor is like best actor?
Yeah,
They
pretty
just
much.
because it's the Teen's Choice Awards, that's stupid.
Best actor, Freddie Prinze Jr. Not for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but
Thank
for
God.
She's All That.
Oh
Which,
God.
Jesus, I'd say
We could
both.
do a
Like
whole episode on that movie. If you want to talk about things that haven't aged well, Kyle, that's your movie.
She's All That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Choice drama, Cruel Intentions.
Yes.
Beating Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. I absolutely
Absolutely. Cruel
no notes.
Intentions. Mm.
So the choice or sorry, the choice hissy fit was Sandra Bullock in Forces of Nature. Don't remember that one with Ben Affleck. I don't know. Beating Ryan Philippe. I don't remember his hissy fit in Cruel Intentions. Choice Sleazebag Award.
I love that.
I love these awards. Choice Sleazebag Award. It goes to Sarah Michelle Gellar for Cruel Intentions,
Oh, she
beating
deserved it.
out Mike Myers in Austin Powers 2. You know, he
Love that.
is a fucking pervert. Beating out Matthew Settle for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Remember, he murdered
Mm.
multiple people. But apparently Sarah Michelle Gellar is more of a sleazebag.
Hey,
And
everyone hated that character.
she also beat Ryan Felipe for that movie too, and Andrew Keegan for 10 Things I Hate About You, and he was a very good sleazebag in that movie.
Oh yeah, he's a good one.
So and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like funny in here. Single of the year was Baby One More Time, which honestly beat Jesus Christ. So I'm sorry. Like, okay, so Baby One More Time, it's cool, but you're beating Shania Twain's You're Still the One, which is
Oh.
I still think it's fine. But she also beat fucking Lauryn Hill for Doo Wop.
Oh no, that's the best one out of those three
Britney
for sure.
Spears beat Monica and Brandy for The Boy Is Mine. Britney
Still gonna
Spears
go Lauryn
beat
Hill.
Yeah, Britney Spears beat Cher for Believe, which honestly is a
Oh,
fucking I'm
that's a fucking
sorry.
banger. Cher was like, it's okay to use auto-tune now openly, and everyone was like, yes, ma'am, yes, queen.
Yeah. And then also beating out Madonna's Ray of Light, which is a fucking banger. That
I like
album,
that
I'm
song.
sorry,
It's a
is really
great
good.
album. Yeah, it is a good album. I feel like it's kind of underrated.
I don't know what the pulse is on like how like Madonna albums are received, you know, but Ray of Light, I
Hmm.
think you know,
I
if it
think that
is an
one did
underrated,
pretty well,
yeah. I mean, it was like
but
kind
I
of
think
a
I don't
first
think
kind of
it's very
comeback.
well remembered. Like people don't go back to it often, but now I will. I think I'll listen to it
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Soundtrack of the year was City of Angels, really just riding on that Goo Goo Dolls song, I would
Oh
think.
God.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's a
geez.
weird fucking movie too. City of Angels.
I didn't watch it and I'm good. TV actor Joshua Jackson for Dawson's Creek, beating out James Vanderbeek, beating out Scott Foley and Felicity, beating out Scott Wolf for Party of Five, Barry Watson
Damn.
for Seventh Heaven, David
Damn.
Boreanaz for Buffy,
These are
Joseph
some heavy
Gordon-Levitt for
hitters.
Third Rock.
Woo.
There are some fucking heavy hitters. Best actress in a TV, Sarah Michelle Gellar. That makes sense.
Yeah. She fucking
Be-
better.
Beating Jennifer Love
1999.
Hewitt for
Woo.
Party of Five, beating Carrie Russell, beating Katie
Mhm.
Holmes,
That
Melissa
was like
Joan
season
Hart.
3 Buffy. That was lit.
Let me list you these actresses, right? Fuck. That is 1999. We didn't understand how beautiful we had it, like how great it was.
Yeah.
Because
It was so good.
Sarah Michelle Gellar beat Jenny Garth, Katie Holmes, Melissa Joan Hart, Brandy Norwood, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Carrie Russell, and Nev Campbell.
Wow.
That is a group.
Wow.
I want to see all of them in a movie. Put them in a slasher. Oh my god, I would love it. And then for breakout show, you've got a tie between Will and Grace and Angel, which beat Dawson's Creek and Charmed.
Wow.
Would you say? I don't know. Oh,
Wait,
did you
wait,
watch a
wait. It
lot of
was a
Charmed?
tie between no, fuck Charmed.
Angel, and Will and
Um,
Grace. And I like Will and Grace.
Will and Grace is fine. I would definitely not put Will and Grace before Angel or Dawson's Creek. I think it should have been a tie between Angel and Dawson's Creek. Personal
Yeah.
bias there. But.
And then, yeah, like I said, best album is for Monica and best. So there's only a best album and best love song.
Interesting.
So for The Boy Is Mine, Monica, and then The Angel of Mine, the Monica song.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're familiar with that one too.
I am familiar with that. So that was a big hit. And you know what? It's so boring when you listen to it now.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed just being walked through just the glory of 1999 and the Teen Choice Awards.
I know. I hope anyone who is listening to this that's like under 30 enjoyed that whole fucking rant of Kyle just naming off a bunch of stuff that you may have never heard of or seen.
I love it. It just feels so good just to revisit on just seeing old friends, you know.
Yeah.
So let's see. I know we talked about that we were going to be we weren't sure what our boo scores were going to be until the end of this conversation. Before we get that, I know y'all are on fucking pins and needles and shit waiting, but I at least spoiled myself, unfortunately, for at least one of the taglines.
Oh,
But
which one did you say?
something about giving horror movies the backhand.
Yeah. The comedy that gives horror films the backhand, which kind of
Mm,
feels like they're like hurting their own movie because it's a horror comedy. Like, then you're like marrying the two. You're not saying a fuck you to one or the other. Like, I don't know.
we don't need to be at odds, right?
Yeah.
No, peanut butter isn't fighting with jelly. Get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here. It's
You
together.
know,
So
you don't want to imply this, that there's not a harmony between the two. Like, we definitely have a soft spot for horror comedies. So that is not one of my favorite, but this does have a few good ones. Taglines like this are never my favorite. Get your hands on this hot new horror comedy. I like when it's like speaking from the movie.
yeah, I don't like
You know what I
I don't like
mean?
that it acknowledges that it's a movie and it's like, and you're really just advertising. It feels like a toy
Yes.
advertisement rather than,
Yes, you don't want
yeah.
it to sound like an advertisement. You want it to sound like a narrator or someone from the movie is speaking to you. This one's okay. The film that gives horror movies the finger. But again, why are we saying fuck off to horror?
Yeah. Why you got to be so aggressive, dude? Get out of here. I mean, and I guess that hand is very aggressive, but the hand likes horror. We saw earlier that it was,
It
if
loves
anything,
horror.
it's giving comedy the backhand,
Yeah, no, this was definitely
and by also not being funny.
a bunch of people who like knew the concept of the movie, were in this situation again, and they were like, oh, it would be really funny if we said that the film gives horror movies the finger. And they were like, write that one
Lol,
down.
love it.
um, okay, we have a long one. The devil will find work for idle hands to do. But what happens when he chooses the laziest teen slacker in the world to do his dirty work?
That is too wordy. That is too
So
much.
wordy.
You could have
Like,
you need an editor on that. You could make that more succinct.
yeah. The tagline that should have been on every single poster, the DVD, this is the one. The touching story of a boy and his right hand. That one's perfect. It's perfect. That's a perfect tagline.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that one. That's my favorite.
I think that one's my favorite too, because it's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, it's funny and kind of raunchy. Love it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I like that. I'm glad you saved that
Those are
one for
fun ones.
last.
I think yeah, I'm starting to adjust the order in which I read them
I like
for
it.
dramatic effect.
I appreciate that. It keeps
Thank
me
you.
on, yeah, I feel like I'm absorbing, I absorb this just as the audience is, so
You
I just
never
get
read
to
them
sit
ahead.
back
You
and
don't
enjoy.
sneak a peek.
This is the first time I accidentally saw one. I actually try to go in,
I love
go in
it.
without knowing. Um, so let's pop over to some booze. I'm happy to go
Oof.
first unless you'd like to.
I think you should go first because I'm really torn.
Okay. I'm gonna give this film two boos. Which I think is actually a little more generous than I was maybe gonna go into. I was probably gonna give it about a one and a
Mm.
half. This movie is very just relentlessly fucking dumb. It is
It is.
again, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it is, I know there's a lot where it exists in its
It
you
truly is
know
a time capsule.
and and that's the hard part too. It's just like, we talk about like, oh man, let's do this movie, this would be great, we haven't seen this one in forever, and then we go back and watch these movies and we're like, oh boy, oh geez, I don't remember
It's the
that.
dropping of the R word and the F word that like pops up way more frequently than you remember. Like,
Yeah,
very casually thrown around.
and just and I think even just like, like I think stuff like with you know how Jessica Alba is throughout the movie, I think that's more of just like, This is so fucking silly and it's so stupid that like, let's just laugh and just roll with this and just,
Yeah,
and
I
again,
like it.
I like the vibe of it. I do think Devon Sawa has a very commendable performance in this movie. I do
Yeah.
think he has the best performance of anybody in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, and I still like the vibe. I'll still watch
Hmm.
up. I know it will not be the last time I watch this movie, and I think it's fun. I mean, I think that's something like I don't know, like yeah, if I can, I don't know how Devon Sawa and the team and all this feels, but I'd still be, I'd be pretty proud of this one. This is a fun one, but I do think that it is well, certainly not, that scary in the slightest, not that that's
No,
how I
not at
really,
all.
funny enough, that's really not how I grade horror movies is by how scary they are, but nor
Yeah.
do I think this movie's very funny side of the two things. And the music is mm, just again, yeah, it's very of its time, though I do love any reason to put Dracula in a movie.
Hmm.
Um yeah. So it was gonna be 1.5. I had it in my notes. I'm gonna bump it up to 2,
Which would have been your lowest.
which would have been my lowest. I think this one is
Actually,
my
two is
lowest though.
actually your lowest.
No. So,
Yeah.
but that being said, if you just want to watch a fucking just a dumb movie with some recognizable people, like I don't know, like yeah, I mean they're way worse teen comedies to watch. So
I agree.
two booze, but
Um,
still super fun to talk about. How about you?
okay, I did not change my rating after we talked through it. I also am gonna give it two boos. And I mean, I don't it horror comedies don't need to be scary for me, although normally that is something like I will give a movie a boo if it's a bad movie, but it actually scared me. That is if
Yeah.
something can scare me, fucking bravo. Like that is an accomplishment in itself. But although full disclosure, I get scared after every movie. Every single fucking movie. I'm so scared walking around my house.
That's why I don't watch home invasion movies because they're like that is
Oh,
absolutely
they're
the
the
most.
worst. They're the worst. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
make you watch The Strangers. Like, spoiler alert, everyone. I'm gonna make Kyle put it on the schedule so that we're prepared for the new one.
Okay.
Um, it's gonna happen, and you're gonna need to watch it with your wife so that you feel safe. Okay, so two boos, and I think a big reason why is this is the type of movie where I'm like, have you ever seen Idle Hands? And if someone says no, there is no possible way that I'm going to say, oh, you should definitely watch it because it is very of its time. Maybe I would say that to somebody who's like our age, but even then, like a lot of these jokes are not going to land. Like a lot of the references that you brought up, Kyle, like they are very 1999 specific.
And
And
also, like, that was like just the tip of the iceberg of the references I brought
exactly.
up. There was a lot.
Exactly. Like anyone watching this, they're going to be like, who the fuck is that random ass band? Like, why are they like focusing on them so much? Like, why are they a big deal?
I did
I
like
mean,
how I did like how Dexter Holland was wearing an AFI shirt. That's cool.
that's pretty funny.
I
I
like
could see someone
AFI.
watching and be like, is that AFI?
Yeah, I want. Yeah, we like we'll tell our kids this is AFI,
Yeah.
and they, band. You know how bands wear their own shirts.
Yeah. That'd be pretty fun. Um, so I guess I have like a special place in my heart for it with nostalgia, and that gives it a higher rating. But also, like, I love Devon Sawa, I love Seth Green. Um, I don't love Jessica Alba. Kyle shook his head no when I said Seth Green. See, it's just the truth's gonna come out. Um, I don't love Jessica Alba, but I like her in this movie, and I feel like she was every like preteen slash teens like uncomfortableness on screen because you're like, oh my god, she's so fucking hot.
Yeah,
Like it definitely like awakened a lot of feelings for many people. So yeah, I think it's really silly. It's really fun. If you listen to this and haven't watched this movie, wow, good job. Um, but this is a silly fucking movie, and it is probably like amongst one of the movies that I've watched the most that you really, really have to ignore any bit of reality. any bit of reality is just going to ruin this movie for you. Like we kind of did it a couple times throughout our conversation, but then immediately had to say, nope, not going down that road because it will just make it feel worse. So I'll give it 2 boos. I wouldn't recommend it to people. But if you saw it as a kid and just wanted something fun to like rewatch, go for it.
I think that's fair. I like that.
Yeah. Or if you're like obsessed with Devon Sawa like we are and you just want to go through all of his films, sure, why not? He's great in it.
I think it is yet an integral part of the tapestry that is Devon Sawa's career, right?
Yeah.
Especially at peak Sawa, the year
Yeah,
of
he
Sawa.
brought in that whole 2.5 million.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
100%.
Seth Green had a lot of fans then, but not Kyle.
Yeah, because that was gonna be, that was probably the height of Seth Green and Buffy, right? It was 99. So that's probably like
Yeah,
season 2, season 3.
absolutely.
Yeah. So good for him. I was like, love the whole vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so I think that's a great way to explain it. And I think there's a lot of movies that can fall under that they're fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
curious to hear, kind of curious to hear what the audience thinks, certainly share out your thoughts. And I don't know if I'm being, and let me know if am I being too mean to Seth Green. I don't think I am.
You know what? I would really like to hear if everyone thinks Kyle's being too mean to Seth Green. Absolutely.
No, never.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, hey, unless you got something else, that is
That's
all
it.
that's all I got on Idle Hands.
No,
Cool.
that's it. That's all I got.
Well, hell yeah. All right. Well, we're just gonna keep trucking through. I'm glad everybody's, hopefully everyone's having a good start to the new year. I know we're gonna keep going. That's all I got.
Next week will be fun.
Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1, ghost.
Thanks for listening to our episode on Idle Hands. If you'd like to give us a hand, we would greatly appreciate if you left us a killer review and subscribe to our podcast wherever you choose to listen. You can follow us on Instagram at 321GhostPod and be sure to like and share our posts to help spread the good word. You can shoot us an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com if you'd like to share your thoughts on a film or give recommendations that you'd like to hear us chat about. Next week, we're taking a shortcut to talk about House of Wax. Thanks again for listening, and remember to send Kyle a strongly worded letter about his hate for Seth Green. 3, 2, 1, ghost.